Audio. Got it. Let's go.
What produces electricity?
Electrons.
No way. I was an electrician. I am an engineer. I work in what you call steam generating plants. I have a degree, I have a license in what is known as thermodynamics. We are dealing with physics now. The only thing that produces electricity, the only thing that produces electricity is the friction of copper and carbon. That could be seen in your automobile. Take out your generator and see what it has inside. It has a copper wheel and some carbon brushes that touches against it when it turns. Here's an example. This is the copper wheel in the generating plant that produced the electricity in this room. It is spinning at only 90 revolutions per minute. But against this copper wheel, there are carbon brushes. And this is what you see. The spinning of the copper wheel against the carbon brush creates a friction. That friction is called resonance. Resonance is electricity, not electrons. Resonance. The resonance produces the electrons, not before. So now, if electricity is produced by copper and carbon, the friction of copper and carbon, then where do we go in the human body and find the organ that produces electricity? We find that it's the brain. The brain is the center of motor. The nervous system is the conduit that carries the electricity to various points of the body to cause motion. Now, should we ask, what is the composition of the brain? No. It is made up of what? Carbon and copper. The pineal gland is carbon, and the cerebral cortex, copper. We not only find that in a human being, we find that in the eel in Brazil that produces electricity to kill his prey. And when you open the eel, all you find is copper and carbon. No melanin.
Well, does everybody have a pineal gland? I was told the other day that everybody doesn't have one. Is that true or not?
If you had no pineal gland, you would not be alive. You would be no motion. It's impossible. Every race has pineal glands. Not every race has thymus glands. Oh, that's different.
Oh, yeah. Well, tell us about those.
The thymus glands. The thymus gland regulates sex. It also maintains energy. The thymus gland also keep you childlike, non-aggressive. But in some races, the thymus gland disappears at age 8. Then one becomes violent in one movement. But now, if the thymus gland disappears in some races at age 8, principally the Caucasian, what helps one to retain the thymus gland within the biology? The presence of what? Carbon. Thank you.
Shout out to my man, Dr. Sebi. Now, I'm going to tell you a quick story about Dr. Sebi. Dr. Sebi had one main ingredient that he needed, and I'm not going to tell you. But he used to come over to the shop where I was at, where I was with my uncle in LA. And I'm telling you, he was cool as a fan. Sit down, play dominoes with you, everything. Talk shit with you, all kind of stuff. Just a regular man. When he sat down and we talked for a minute, because he was waiting for somebody to show up, he said, I was near blind, crippled, couldn't get up. You know what I mean by that. had all different types of, you know, cancerous things, high blood pressure, all kind of crazy stuff. And he said he healed himself. Yeah, he's from if I'm not mistaken, he's from Honduras. This guy is amazing. But at the time I didn't know Dr. Sebi like you guys know Dr. Sebi right here. I know him from just coming and hanging out. You see what I'm saying? The funny part about it, when when the other elder showed up, he was like, "Hey man, tell him I'll be back." I said, "All right." And then the brother shows up. I said, "Hey man, somebody named Dr. Sebi was just here." He said, "Oh, Sebi? Ah, and what do he want?" I said, "Hey man, he just said he needed to come holler at you about, you know." He said, "Oh, okay." I said, "You gonna call him?" He said, "No, he'll be back." And then he told me, he said, "Yeah, he need me." And then I go talk to my uncle. I said, "Who's this Dr. Sebi guy?" He said, "Oh yeah." He said, "That damn quack." I said, "Boy, he be taking people on these trips and things like that to his village, and you know, and he do the medicines and all that stuff. He do all this crazy shit." He said, "He do all this, you know, he an old man. He do all this crazy shit, man." I'll be like, he said, "He good though." He said, "But you gotta watch him." You know what I'm saying? And I said, "Oh, okay." So you looking at people, right? You're looking at these elders, right? They be amongst each other, where you see people nowadays, a lot of people all over North America look at Dr. Sebi kind of like a god, the idol in a sense, based on this information that he had. But you know what I'm saying? I was fortunate enough to be able to know Dr. Sebi as just Sebi. And you know, when we came back around, he came back again. I was, "Oh, okay, yeah, I heard about." He said, "Hey man, don't worry about that." He said, "It's nothing, you know, don't treat me like I'm something different." He said, "I'm just a regular old man, and pleasure to meet you." So we used to sit in the shop, in the store, stuff like that. And one of these days I'll show you some pictures. But yeah, that's Dr. Sebi.
Were called
I just thought this was kind of funny.
by General Mkhwanazi, and then immediately after your call at 22:32, he sends you a link, a YouTube link, to a song of Tupac with a great title that unfortunately I can't mention publicly. But that rap, what are the words to that rap? Do you know it?
I suppose the best you can do is to flight the screenshot. Then people can.
Now look at these guys, right? These Africans, right? These some brothers from West Africa. I don't know. I think they're Nigerian, Igbo or something like that. I don't know. I'm not sure. Mkhwanazi. Yeah, I don't know if that's. But if you look at all three of them up there, they are grinning. These people are grinning. They smiling ear to ear when he brought up something Tupac said, right? But when you look at it, right, these people are like my age, right? They're in their 50s. So they grew up during that era. This is how you will understand how our culture, just the things that we do, just inspire the world. And they look at us like, man, if we was to say something like that, we would be dead. When I mean DED. and Stankin, we talk like that. With you guys just get out. And that used to fire them up like, why do you guys accept this and accept that? Why you allow that? Why don't y'all rebel and boop, boop, boop? I said, well, and this goes across the board when everybody get asked that question, like, say what? And we never had really that answer. But the best answer that I could give them was, hey, this is just the way it is right now. That doesn't mean it wouldn't change, but that's just the way it is. They have access to armies. If we just knock down 1 or 2 or 3, that don't take the head off the snake. But at the end of the day, we function how we function within the system. And it's a natural thing to know that you are outside the system. As I think about today, the reason why I couldn't answer that question because I didn't know how to answer it. They are really serious about, and mostly all of these foreigners that come over here, they look at us, and this is why they kind of turn their nose like, you guys just allow this stuff to happen to you. No, you don't. No, I mean, no, we don't. We don't allow anything. You know, this is where the big divide comes in, but that's another story. But back to this, right? If you see these people smiling, these people are either in their mid to late 40s to early to late 50s. See what I'm saying? So you would think during this time in the late 80s and the 90s, where you're dealing with hip hop at its finest across the board, they're either in their 20s or their 30s or their teens. And this genre, along with the other music, was traveling everywhere.
See it for themselves without you saying anything, Mr. Shaskalson.
If you're willing for me to say it, I'm happy to say it myself. And if it's going to be flighted, I may as well say it. It's Lost Motherfucker Breathing.
Look how he said that shit. That motherfucker breathing. I mean, that last motherfucker breathing. Right? That's how you say it. It's got to flow, man. It's got to have some. It got to have some peaks and valleys. It's got to have some rhythm, man. It got to have some style. I'll be that last motherfucker breathing. Right? But that's what he said in order to translate, if y'all didn't catch it.
Now, what is Lost Motherfucker Breathing about? What do the words say? Why would General Mkhwanazi send it to you? What does that rap communicate?
I think the reason is myself and General Mkhwanazi, we love the same artist, that is Tupac. So now, on the day when we're discussing about this arrest, hey, my man, how are you feeling about this thing? And he said, no, I'm feeling nice. I'm even cruising. This is what I'm listening. So he forwarded to me. So that, no, don't worry, because I was worried that General Mkhwanazi was stressed about what happened earlier. So I phoned him that time, hey, my man, how are you feeling? He said, oh, I'm fine, I'm good. Listen to what I'm listening. We are listening to our song. So he sent me this.
Now, as a Tupac fan, you'll know the words to Last Motherfucker Breathing, won't you? Do you?
Classic.
Can you repeat that question?
Do you know the words?
Classic.
What?
I'm not going to ask you to rap it for us out here, but
Yes.
do you know the song?
Yes.
And what's it about? What's Tupac saying in Last Motherfucker Breathing?
Tupac.
He said, I'm the last man standing.
He's saying, I'm the last man standing.
That's correct.
I'm going to fight until I'm the last man standing. Isn't that what that that's about.
That is Tupac, yes.
Yes, and General Mkonazi is sending that to you on the day that General Kumalo has been arrested.
That's correct.
And isn't General Mkonazi saying to you, I'm going to fight to the bitter end on this one? General Kumalo may have been arrested, but I'm going to fight to the bitter end.
I don't want to put words in his mouth, but at that time, there was someone who was cruising at night. He sent me this thing. And this is how I understood it because of.
At half
Did you hear the last part? He said cruising at night. Hey, y'all better recognize. Hey, if y'all not gonna execute, trust me, we gonna ride with this. He said we cruising in the car listening to this. He asked him, did you know the lyrics? He said, yeah, I know the lyrics. I do. That's classic. Oh man, hopefully you guys got some enjoyment out of this. But it I don't know if it gets better. I should have said that for last, but let's continue.
In your house gave you the right to do everything you
Under the circumstance that I got freedom of speech, after they run around my house with guns and kick down my door, I got the right to kick a can in my backyard, use my freedom of speech, turn my bad times into a good time. Yes, I do. And I think I'm a sport for doing so, because I don't go to their house, kick down their doors, flip them off on their surveillance cameras, then try to play the victim and sue them.
You were at Lisa Phillips's deposition, correct?
Yes, sir.
In your lawyer's office.
Yes, sir.
Same office where you filmed part of that video last Friday.
Yes, sir.
And you saw how upset she was when she was answering your lawyer's questions about how this had affected her, right?
Yes, yes,
And you saw your attorney say, do we need to take a break?
yes,
And you saw her say, no, let's go on and get this over with.
yes, sir.
You saw all that.
Yes.
You knew she was upset.
Just like she knew I was upset when she was standing in front of my kids with an AR-15 with her hand around the trigger ready to shoot me, just like she knew.
Look how he holding his position with his hands, so you know he know how to get down. He got that little that trigger finger sitting right there with the thing pointed down. Yeah, he know what he doing.
I was upset when she cut my cameras, but I'm not a person, she is. So I'm sorry for being a victim. Let's talk about the predators.
Okay. So you saw all that. You saw how upset she was. You heard the testimony about her children. You heard the testimony at the depositions about Randy Newland's daughter who came home upset. You heard all that, but you're still posting stuff about
Yeah,
it.
because I understand it was Randy's fault and all of their fault for coming in my house in the first place. So if they hadn't came to my house, their children wouldn't be saying nothing. None of this would be going.
Check him out, man. He gleaming. I mean, he over there gleaming. He got
Children wouldn't be saying their children wouldn't be saying nothing. None of this would be going.
He got the gold jumping off.
But you're still posting stuff about it.
He got the gold jumping off. Well, he over there gleaming. Probably didn't took about a half an hour to pick that afro like he did. Man, that boy gleaming. Let's get on to the next one. Let me take a quick look at the chat. Nobody in the back. All right, cool. Let's get to the other part.
This, Kurt, maybe you know this, that when so we overthrew the Iranian government, meaning the CIA. In 1953, we overthrew the Mossadegh, which was a democratically elected president of Iran. And the reason why we did that is because he didn't want to let the United States and Britain steal their oil. And he wanted to keep the oil profits for the people of Iran. So immediately they overthrew him and they installed the Shah.
Vote for prosperity, Jimmy.
And they installed the Shah of Iran, which was a murderous dictator that we propped up for 20
You heard that?
some years, like 25 years. Maybe you know this, that when so we overthrew the Iranian government, meaning the CIA. In
You're welcome.
1953, we overthrew the Mossadegh, which was a democratically elected president of Iran. And the reason why we did that is because he didn't want to let the United States and Britain steal their oil. And he wanted to keep the oil profits for the people of Iran. So immediately they overthrew him and they installed
You
the
didn't
Shah.
vote for prosperity, Jimmy.
And they installed the Shah of Iran, which was a murderous dictator that we propped up for 20 some years, like 25 years.
You see? Now, dealing with political science, right? Dealing with political science and government, right? Not just domestic, talking about international government and policy and rules and regulations on how sovereigns within treaties and agreements and allies, need to function. Now, if you remember, this was the same thing they was talking about Saddam Hussein about. Not Osama bin Laden, Saddam Hussein. Same thing. You get somebody in there, right? They become a tyrant, and then you can't control them. But then you got two factions, your Democrats and your Republican sides of things. And if you guys don't know, Democrat goes not just in America, goes everywhere. You got one side that's dealing with that wants democracy. You got one other side that wants the People's Republic. This is why I always say, to give you a good example about China, it's called the People's Republic of China. That's what that government is. The People's Republic of China. But they always talk about China in a sense, but they're really talking about the Chinese Communist Party. You got a party that is dominating, just like the Democratic, the Democrats or the Democratic Party in America is controlling the North American government. And when you control, whoever controls the North American government controls the whole Western Hemisphere. You see?
Years.
We brought
Right.
in the Ayatollah as well. I don't know if you know.
So then they get rid of the Shah, and when they did that, they took they stormed the American embassy and they took some hostages, but they didn't take all they released a lot of black people and all the women. Why would they release the black people? Well, guess what?
Because they're barbaric.
This is the part you're not gonna hear. Listen to this.
Okay, one of the most insane historical facts has got to be when Iran took a bunch of American hostages in 1979, but then decided to free all the black hostages and the women. Why did Iran do this, you ask? Well, first we got to go back a little bit to why Iran took hostages in the first place. And when you understand this, you also understand why Iran and the USA don't really like each other to this day. You see, Iran had a problem. You see, back before the 1950s, Iran's oil industry was basically completely taken over by the United States and Britain. Iran was barely getting a share of their oil. Iran said, knock, knock, knock. Hello, United States, Britain, can we have our oil back? United States and Britain said, who said we got your oil? Iran said, boy, we're not stupid out here. We see y'all scamming us. United States and Britain said, you got us, and we don't feel like, but we're not giving your oil back though, for real. So Iran voted in a new prime minister that took back Iran's oil. United States said, ooh, we can't have that. Call in the CIA. The CIA pulls up, that boy gone. The United States brings in a new guy, the Shah, and he's very friendly towards the United States. Iran said, the Shah said, look, y'all didn't even give me a chance for real. Yeah, fast forward 20 years later, he gave away all of Iran's oil and had very oppressive policies towards the people. The people of Iran said, time's up. The Shah said, time's up. Boy, you know what I got behind me? Big dog United States. The Iranian people said, all right, let's see if they get to you in time. The Iranian people rose up and started hunting them down. The Shah said, oh, them folk tripping. He calls the United States. He said, yo, them folks trying to get me. The United States said, chill, we're going to get an airplane. We're going to come pick you up. We can't let our assets, our friends, suffer. The Shah gets on a plane and he dips. He said, I'll see y'all folk in the States. The people of Iran looked at the United States and said, bring back the Shah. The United States said, no, the Shah is sick. We can't give him to you right now. Iran said, we got hospitals here and jails. Bring him over. The United States said, no. And we still going to take your oil because we're going to bring in a new guy to still take your oil. This was the last straw for Iran. Iranian college students stormed the United States embassy and take everybody hostage. They said, bring back the Shah. The United States said, release the hostages. What are your demands? Iran said, well, they're pretty reasonable. 1, we want the Shah back. 2, we want you to leave us and our oil alone. The United States said.
So people don't know this. Kurt, maybe you know this.
All right. It's just fair use. Just something to think about. This, I'm going to hold off because I'm behind on time because I was blocked for a second. But this is very interesting, talking about Howlin' Wolf. But we're going to move over here. This is interesting.
Ago, a non-profit organization began trying to fix that, not with a new national park, but rather a huge, privately operated nature reserve, a place where, as we first reported last fall, buffalo can roam once again.
They thought it was a joke. Who dumps 5,000 wild bison into dead Texas land and expects anything but chaos? But within months, ancient trails reappeared. Forgotten rivers woke up. Rain that hadn't touched the soil in decades stayed. And then, scientists saw something even stranger. The herd was walking a map no human had shown them. What these bison did next should have been impossible. The desert that should not have existed. For most of American history, the Texas Panhandle was not a desert at all. It was one of the richest grassland systems on Earth, part of the vast Great Plains that once supported an estimated 30 million bison.
Now, I want somebody from Texas, eventually you could put it in a message if you're not from Texas, somebody that's going to listen to this later, explain this panhandle thing.
Explorers described grass so thick it brushed the bellies of horses. Rain soaked deep into soft soil. Streams flowed year-round. But by the early 20th century, that system had quietly collapsed. When settlers replaced bison with cattle, largely to meet the growing demand for beef and to establish private ranching economies, they unknowingly rewired the land's entire biology. Cattle graze differently. Instead of moving constantly like bison, they linger. They eat the same tender grasses again and again until the roots die. Over decades, native grasses vanished. Mesquite trees and woody shrubs invaded, stealing groundwater with root systems that reach more than 50 feet deep. According to Texas ALONDM rangeland surveys, some regions lost over 70% of their original grass cover by the 1970s. Without roots to hold it together, the soil hardened into something closer to concrete than dirt. Rain stopped soaking in. Satellite data from NASA later confirmed that most storms simply ran off the surface or evaporated, never recharging underground aquifers. By the early 2000s, sections of West Texas were officially reclassified as semi-arid scrubland. Ecologists quietly warned that this was the beginning of a slow dust bowl in reverse, not caused by drought, but by biology breaking down. Ranchers fought back with machines. Millions were spent bulldozing mesquite, spraying herbicides, reseeding grasses, even drilling irrigation wells. Almost none of it worked. Within a few years, the shrubs always returned. Some soil scientists began calling the land functionally dead, meaning it no longer had the microbial life needed to regenerate naturally. That is when a radical idea resurfaced from forgotten journals. In the 1800s, naturalists had noted something strange. Wherever bison herds moved, grass exploded behind them, not slowly, fast.
2 decades ago.
All right, so this is where we're going to get into, this is just one promotion, right? Anybody saying what they think they're saying in regards to America being something that was created by Europeans. This is a little cheap introduction to it, but check this out. And then we're going to get into the lesson. You know, want everybody to get comfortable. I know people got a lot to do, so, you know, I'll do this just to, you know, relax everybody's mind until we get into it.
You left with Amaru, Tupac Amaru, the plum serpent, remember? Tameru, Amera, Tameri, all right?
Everyone is told that Africa is the cradle of civilization and that Egypt is its crown. But the Egyptians, the ancient Egyptians themselves was writing about their homeland. And where do you think their homeland is? Where do you think they originated from?
Africa doesn't have stair steps going up it. It doesn't have temples on top of its summits. They could not go and break through the boat on the temples atop those great pyramids. There are none there. And that was the clue that Egypt was writing about the Americas. And the deeper I got into the records, the clearer it got. They started actually saying, and because Amen loved that land so much, he said it's his beloved land, and that word was Mary, the beloved, Mary, M-E-R-I, Mary. And the land, of course, as before, is Ta. So you have the beloved land, Ta-Mary. And they kept that name and just put the Ta on the end of it. So Ta-Mary became a Mary Ta. We simply say America. We kept the name that Egypt gave to the Americans. So that was the big mystery behind that $10 million map that Martin Waldseemüller made and then put the name America on it in 1507. And then those who knew and those who were trying to hide things said, wait a minute, you can't put that name on here. And the next time he reprinted that map, it was off, it was gone. Because that's the name that Egypt had given the land.
America.
All right, so if you want to do some quick referencing on that, the one thing that they're missing is the Ka, right? The Ka, the K and the A. You got Ta, which is the land, Ameri or Amaru, Amara. That is a description of. The Ka, if you look at the Medu Neter and how they define the Ka is considered to be the body or soul. Okay, so you can also say the people. So if you read it from right to left, it will say the body or the people of the beloved land, or the people of the land of paradise. Okay. Now, I'm going to do a quick digression real quick. Let me give you the history of California. All right. I'm going to show you something real quick about that. Historical name of the island of California. All right. So when you look here, shout out to California. I got to get my California in there. Based on a 16th century Spanish romance novel, of course, European explorers originally believed the peninsula of Baja California was an island, calling it California. The name originated from the mythical gold-rich Paradise Island ruled by Queen Califia and Garcia Rodriguez de Montalvo's 1510 novel, Las Sergas de Esplandian. All right. So now in San Francisco, they had a big Wells Fargo, the big Wells Fargo corporate bank, right? If you look at Wells Fargo, you look them up. Their main location is San Francisco, Wells Fargo. They also had an old Western black and white show that was called Tales of Wells Fargo. A lot of people didn't know what Wells Fargo was really about before it actually became a bank. Well, the Tales of Wells Fargo was connected to these marshals that was kind of picking up these unlawful, what they consider to be cowboys, but these unlawful pirates. If you look at these old white, black and whites and things like that, you had Tales of Wells Fargo, I'm gonna stick to that, and all these other people where they was coming up on horses and they was coming looking for people that they knew that was, unlawful. But if you look up Tales of Wells Fargo, it was basically an entity that was actually sending out what you would consider to be marshals at that time or other type of specialty people they was picking up, deputizing them like the one you seen in Django, where the German guy, that connected with Jamie Foxx. And at the beginning, when he came in there and, while they was chasing him and stuff like that, and he came over there and he was looking for him. And then when he came into the city or whatever, not in the city, but in that town, and he was looking for that sheriff, and then he popped him, and then the whole town came out with him, and he came out with his hands up. He came with the little paper, and he said, "This guy is this guy. He did this and he did that. I'm with the United States Marshal's office, and I'm here for that, dead or alive." And then after he was done, he said, "And y'all owe me $200. And then Jamie Foxx said, "Well, I'll be damned." Yeah. Tales of Wells Fargo is one of them. Now, when you go back to that big building, that was the Wells Fargo corporate building, they got a big stele, big art picture of guess who? Califia as a sister, but they kind of make her like light-skinned one or whatever, so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? But you actually know her to be that. So that mythical thing is not mythical. Now, they might want to say it's mythical, but it's not. Because they got Califia avenues in California. So just want to share that with you, so you guys know. Now, a lot of people didn't know that it was an island. It wasn't connected at a certain point in time. That's why when you go through the bay, you're going to hit about 3 or 4 bridges. As soon as you get past Fairfield, get into Richmond, a bridge. After that, you get into Oakland, a bridge. You want to get to San Francisco, a bridge. You want to get to another part of the western side, a bridge. It's about 3 or 4 bridges. Might be more than that. But in order to get to these places, you got to hop on a bridge. Okay, now when you connect it to Wonder Woman, the Paradise Island that was covered up, nobody could see, full of women. But all this technology and all these things that was going on, okay? But California was considered to be Paradise Island. And what in Wonder Woman they called their place? Paradise Island. Now, I got a friend. This brother has comic books from way back when. But his collection is about all these superheroes, including Wonder Woman, being a so-called black. Marinate on that for a minute. Okay. Now, since I asked that question, I'm just going to go Paradise Island. Look what the first thing pops up. Look at the first thing that pops up. I didn't even finish. Paradise Island, Sacramento. Paradise Island in the Bahamas. But the first one says Paradise Island, California. All right. Paradise Island, Atlantis. In the Bahamas. Okay. So you know. Yeah, and she was passing. But I just wanted to give you that little tidbit. Okay? Just wanted to give you that tidbit. Now, when you get into these pictures, right, you just want to give you some quick pictures. I just went on Pinterest so you guys can kind of check this out a little bit. Right? You got a lot of different pictures. And all you looking at is melanated people. Everybody. 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 All right. Now, I want to play this video. Because I'm gonna maneuver over to some quick politics and quick government, right? And it gives you a different perspective, just like we've been talking about, right? A lot of people think that they're still operating under what is considered to be a Republican form of government that was the initial creation between the indigenous nations and the off branch or the beneficiaries or the heirs of the of Great Britain that then became the 13 United States. So let's listen.
State Marco Rubio blew the lid off of a 50-year-old conspiracy. He said that the destruction of the American economy was deliberate.
Deindustrialization was not inevitable. It was a conscious policy choice, a decades-long economic undertaking that stripped our nations of their wealth, of their productive capacity, and of their independence.
He's right. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't market forces. It was a plan written down 50 years ago, and today we're going to give you the receipts. Now, you've seen the reports about the U.S.-European face-off at Munich, how the globalists marched a lineup of failing European leaders and American has-beens and wannabes onto the stage to challenge President Trump. But even the pro-MAGA coverage of Marco Rubio's powerful speech missed the bombshell that the deindustrialization was deliberate. Now, we didn't miss it because we were there in 1977 when the Council on Foreign Relations announced their plan to do it, when they called for, quote, the controlled disintegration of the world economy, unquote. I'm Susan Kokinda, and I was part of the team that exposed that report 50 years ago. So when I heard these words come out of Marco Rubio's mouth, I knew that what we were seeing is the most significant challenge to British imperial policy in modern American history. Now, if this is a fight you want to follow, please hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons so we can stay in touch and we can expand our reach. Here's what I'm going to cover today. First, what Rubio actually said and the panicked reaction from the Europeans who were at the same conference. Second, the 1977 CFR report that laid out the deliberate destruction of sovereign economies, precisely the destruction that Marco Rubio talked about. And third, how Trumponomics is reviving real economic sovereignty. So let's start with what Secretary of State Rubio laid out at Munich.
Okay. So I probably should be posting this, but I honestly don't even care anymore. So my friend, I'm not going to say her name, but she got hit by a car back in January, like real bad. The other driver blew through a red light and just like slammed into her. And at first she thought she was fine. Like we all do, right? You get out the car, your adrenaline's going. You're like, oh, I'm okay. 2 days later, she can't turn her neck. She can't look over her shoulder to check her blind spot when she's driving. She can't sleep because every time she rolls over, it feels like someone's stabbing.
In this delusion,
Sorry about that.
we embraced a dogmatic vision of free and unfettered trade, even as some nations protected their economies and subsidized their companies to systematically undercut ours, shuttering our plants, resulting in large parts of our societies being deindustrialized, shipping millions of working and middle-class jobs overseas, and handing control of our critical supply chains to both adversaries and rivals. Deindustrialization was not inevitable. It was a conscious policy choice, a decades-long economic undertaking that stripped our nations of their wealth, of their productive capacity, and of their independence. It was a foolish but voluntary transformation of our economy that left us dependent on others for our needs and dangerously vulnerable to crisis.
Let a few of those phrases sink in. A conscious policy choice, a voluntary transformation of our economy. Actually, it wasn't so voluntary, but I'll get to that in a minute. Now, here's what makes this speech so extraordinary. Rubio wasn't speaking into a vacuum. In her Saturday brief, Barbara reviewed the collection of warmongers and anti-Trumpers who filled that room in Munich. And she reported on the fact that the theme of the entire conference was, quote, under destruction. And it was a full-on attack of Trump's policies in specific and on the concept of national sovereignty in general. But lurking between the lines of the conference report and speeches is this reality. The globalists are no longer in control of the current world dynamic. The conference report says that economic uncertainty is nearly 3 times higher than it was during the 2008 financial crisis. Why? We don't have banks crashing like in 2008, at least not yet. That economic uncertainty comes from the fact that Donald Trump and his team have declared that the 50-year-old post-industrial model is over. Now,
All right. Now I'm going to jump over here to this other part, this other video. I want you to hear this lady.
Feel like to wake up on your terms.
I want you to check this out. Yeah, I'm going to bore the shit out you.
By trying to Britain made a fatal mistake by trying to blackmail Washington. You thought aircraft carriers ruled the world? You're wrong. For the last 300 years, global trade was controlled by a simple coffee shop in London. While Britain was deciding who was allowed to sail and who wasn't, Trump was preparing to strike. Lloyd's of London withdrew their insurance to provoke global chaos and stop Trump. But instead of panic, they received the order to impose the DFC. In one day, the U.S. took over the market that Britain had spent centuries building. Want to know what the end of an empire looks like in real time? Let's discuss it. Britain never really lost its empire. It just changed the uniform. In 1688, a coffee house in the city of London called Edward Lloyd's became the place where ship owners came to get their vessels insured. Simple enough. One merchant talks to another, a handshake, a signature on a slip of paper. That's it. That's how you rule the world. Fast forward 3 centuries. In 2026, Lloyd's of London still controls 30% of all global offshore energy insurance and 10% of all marine hull premiums worldwide. Think about what that number actually means. Every supertanker, every LNG carrier, every offshore drilling platform from the Gulf of Mexico to the South China Sea. A significant portion of them are underwritten, directly or indirectly, by a market based in a square mile of the City of London. Now ask yourself, what happens if Lloyd says no? This is...
All right, so let's do a quick one. Underwriting. Sign and accept liability and insurance policy, thus guaranteeing payment in case loss or damage occurs. Number 2, of a bank or other financial institution, pledge to buy all the unsold shares in an issue of new securities. That's underwriting. Let's get a better one. Let's go to Investopedia. They ain't gonna put no cut in it. Underwriting is typically conducted by insurance companies, investment firms, and banks to measure and calculate financial risk for insurance policies, investment securities, and loans. This process determines whether the institution will accept the risk at a determined price in the form of premiums or interest rates, or establish the underlying value for an initial public offering or an IPO. Remember yesterday, we was talking about OID, original issue discount, right? And then I actually talked about what the definition is. What is an original issue? On top of that, you looked at the other form that I showed and talk about public offerings, right? The Treasury regulation, right? The 1.127, such and such. So this information, initial public offering, right? It's an offering in the public. It's a public offering. All right. So just keep this in mind, what's underwriting. Now we know when we go get a loan for anything, because it's saying insurance policies, investment securities, and loans. Now, when we talk about mortgages, I want you to think about mortgages, right? And then you can also apply auto loans to that, or conversion loans to that as well, or anything else to that as well. Because remember when I said, if they need that social to do anything and they running your credit, you pretty much in this gamut right here. Now, when you deal with a mortgage, right? When you deal with a mortgage has all of these three things. Insurance policies, right? You got to run your thing. They want it ran through their escrow. They want to get title insurance. Bingo. And really, the title insurance is what they call lender's title insurance. There's two types. There's owner's titles insurance, and there's lender's titles insurance. But what you don't know is that there's actually owner's titles insurance. What they do is they get lender's titles insurance. That's why when you look at your preliminary title report, make a note, mental or otherwise, make a note. When you look at your preliminary title report, when you got that house, they did a full report, title search on everything to see what was going on, to make sure it's free and clear. They then gave you two schedules, Schedule A and Schedule B. Schedule A says who's insured, who's the owner with interest in the land to the estate and the land. And then they tell you in Schedule A what is covered under that title insurance. And that's for both sides, supposedly. Because that title insurance company whatever title insurance company it might be, is going to show up on that mortgage deed, deed of trust, security deed, whatever they call it in whatever state. But let's deal with California so I can make it flow, is that deed of trust is going to show the trust relationship, who the trustor is, which is going to be me, the trustee, which is going to be the title company who opened up escrow and did the preliminary search and everything and issued the title insurance. That's going to be that. You can look up all the different ones in your area and you'll see what I'm talking about. The beneficiary is going to be the actual servicing company that is supposedly loaning you the money. Right? But as I mentioned, it's called a mortgage deed security, right? Because it says investment securities. And in the deed of trust, it's going to actually show that in that promissory note or that promise to pay, they're going to mention security a bunch of times. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to show you later once we get into my PDFs, in my Word docs, my PDFs. Well, I'm going to show you. Right. On top of that, we can say we could work it from right to left. So let's work right to left. You know what I'm saying? We all ancient. So we know everything was done. All the language was actually done from right to left. So let's start from right to left. Loan. When you come into a bank or you look online or somebody at this point in time, they don't never want to see you in person. They want you to do everything online. They don't even want you walking into the bank asking for anything. They say, well, can you go to our website and do it this way? So they talking about a mortgage loan, a home mortgage loan. So there's your one. Then the second one says investment securities. So that investment security is the deed of trust. Why? Because I'm going to show you it's going to have the word security in there. Insurance policy. Insurance policy is title insurance. Right? Now, homeowners insurance is a little different, but the same because they kind of adjusted, because you don't get that homeowners insurance till you actually get the house, right? Once escrow closed, you get the house, then you go apply for homeowners insurance. That's not the same as title insurance. It's two different things. So when we go back to what is underwriting, underwriting is typically conducted by insurance companies, investment firms, and banks. So what they're saying is that the underwriting is actually being done by all three. It didn't say or, it said and. Insurance, investment, banks. Now, if you want to know more, go do your research. But basically, bottom line is that every single situation is done that way. All right, we're gonna leave that up here, but we're gonna go back. All righty. All right, where we at? Let's go back here.
This is the mechanism that nobody talks about. They call it no cover. And it is the most elegant weapon ever invented because it leaves no fingerprints. A $200 million tanker without insurance is not a ship. It's a floating liability. No bank will finance its fuel. No port will let it dock because if it has an accident, who pays? The captain? No port authority in the world takes that risk. So the ship sits. The oil sits. The contracts collapse. No shots fired, no sanctions voted on in the UN Security Council, just a piece of paper, or rather, the absence of one.
Now she's talking about what the previous lady was talking about in terms of the war and who's funding and financing, but I don't care nothing about that. I care about the structure and the function of it. So what she's saying is, if it's not insured, or what they used the word no cover, so if it's not covered or insured, then there's nothing to be paid out on their own. So the bottom line, what I'm saying to you is this: in our situation, our normal day-to-day situation, if there's an insurance policy on it, it is covered. There is a policy on it. It's covered.
I want you to hold that image in your mind. The most powerful weapon in the world is a blank signature line. Britain used this weapon for decades. When London decided it didn't like Iranian oil exports in 2010, before the formal SWIFT sanctions, before the executive orders, Lloyd's and the major protection and indemnity clubs simply began withdrawing coverage for vessels calling at Iranian ports. Ships stopped. Commerce froze. A nation of 85 million people felt the economic pressure, not from a warship, but from an underwriter in EC3.
Now, you look at it from this perspective, right? Are we being told this? We're actually looking at TV all the time, and whether you think you're looking at TV or not, you're looking at TV, regardless of what it is. Whether it's in your hand, or if it's sitting on a table, or any type of little whatever, you looking at TV. What you're looking at is somebody's opinion or somebody's own narrative or what they want you to think. But go down the line and see if anybody is saying what these two ladies are saying.
That's the game. That's the board. Now let's talk about what happened when someone flipped the board over entirely. Operation Epic Fury begins on February 28th, 2026. Within 72 hours, Lloyd's syndicates and the major P&I clubs, the UK P&I Club, the North of England, the Guard, issue formal notices withdrawing war risk coverage for vessels transiting the Arabian Gulf. The decision is technically actuarial. The risk models show elevated threat environments. The premiums would be prohibitive, so coverage is withdrawn. Technically actuarial, politically devastating. 150 tankers anchor at the mouth of the Strait of Hormuz. Let me translate that number into something tangible. Those 150 vessels are carrying approximately 150 million barrels of oil. At March 2026 prices, that's roughly $12 billion in hydrocarbons sitting motionless on the water. Every day they don't move, someone somewhere is paying a demurrage fee. Contracts are breached. Refineries in South Korea, Japan, India, they start drawing down strategic reserves. The margin is thinner than anyone publicly admits. And the Strait of Hormuz is not just an oil transit point. 25% of the world's seaborne oil passes through here. 20% of global LNG. When those 150 tankers stop, the entire downstream supply chain, from German petrochemical plants to Taiwanese semiconductor fabs that need LNG for their power grid, begins to feel the pressure. This is what systemic fragility looks like from the inside. Now, here's the detail that the mainstream coverage missed almost entirely, buried under the footage of airstrikes. Britain had already refused. Weeks before Epic Fury began, the Starmer government declined Washington's request to use Diego Garcia, the British Indian Ocean Territory base, arguably the single most strategically valuable piece of real estate in the Indo-Pacific, for strike operations. The official language was diplomatic. The functional meaning was unambiguous. London would not be a party to this operation. So Washington launched without London. And London apparently decided that if it couldn't control the military operation, it would control the economic one. The insurance withdrawal wasn't just risk management, it was a signal. You used our strategic geography without our consent, Now you'll run your war without our paper.
Now, you got lives at stake here, livelihoods, people, regular just inhabitants of those areas, not citizens, inhabitants. While we running a paper game here. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with Lloyd's of London, then you might want to look into them. But if you actually are kind of catching what is being said here, Lloyd's of London is dictating the program and has been dictating the program based on what she's saying. And they've been dictating the program through paperwork, insurance policies. You don't do what we say, or if you challenge us, all right, we cutting that off and you get no more protection. And really your protection is just being able to, if you get a loss or whatever, you get fully funded. But more importantly, these countries, not just the United States, but mostly all of these nations, these so-called nations, are going through these people to get what they need in order to function. The most crazy thing about it in regards to the United States basically, you know what I'm saying? Basically, is not just borrowing or putting up collateral, they're also using their military to protect that as well. So they're paying and protecting at the same time. I mean, you gotta make this make sense here. We're just gonna get to what she say, what Trump did in response. Then we'll move on.
I'm not assigning moral weight to this. I'm describing interests meeting resources. Britain had one lever left of genuine global significance: the City of London's role as the world's risk underwriter. They pulled it. What they didn't anticipate was the speed of the response. March 3rd, 2026. Trump doesn't call a press conference. He doesn't convene an emergency session of the National Security Council, at least not one that produces a memo. He posts on Truth Social. The post is characteristically blunt. The substance is historically unprecedented. The U.S. Development Finance Corporation, the DFC, America's sovereign development bank with a $60 billion capital base, is directed to provide political risk insurance for all commercial vessels transiting the Arabian Gulf. U.S. government-backed guarantees. Full stop. Let me explain what just happened, because the financial press took 3 days to fully process it, and most of the general media never did. The DFC was created to provide insurance and financing for U.S. interests in developing markets. It was designed for projects in sub-Saharan Africa and Southeast Asia, backing telecoms, infrastructure, energy projects where private capital won't go without a sovereign backstop. Trump just applied that architecture to maritime trade insurance in an active conflict zone and used it to replace the London market entirely. Think about the logic from a pure power perspective. Lloyd's withdraws coverage because the risk is too high. Fine. The DFC steps in and says, the U.S. Treasury is your counterparty now. You want to sail through the Gulf? You're covered. Not by a syndicate of Lloyd's names in EC3, by the full faith and credit of the United States government. What does the ship owner do when offered that choice? They sail. Within 48 hours of the DFC announcement, 14 tanker operators publicly confirmed they were proceeding with Gulf transits under U.S. sovereign guarantee.
You get it? Okay. It's that simple. It's that simple. That's pretty much what's taking place here. Let's go back here.
Now, reflecting the recognition that the jig is up, European Central Bank head Christine Lagarde titled her speech, Preparing for Geoeconomic Fragmentation. And in it, she warned that a more assertive industrial policy is causing a rise in geopolitical tension and more frequent financial market stress. Now, translated, that means we have to now live in a world that is being reshaped by an assertive American industrial policy, and we who represent the global financier elite are no longer controlling the table. Lagarde signaled that new reality when she warned about the fragility of the European financial system. She said, we must avoid a situation where that stress triggers fire sales of euro-denominated securities in global funding markets, which could hamper the transmission of our monetary policy.
Okay. Tie that in. That's what's taking place right now. Now, what does that mean on a domestic scale to us? We'll find out. But this is what is being pushed, but not actually being shared. So how that trickles back to the homeland, to the mainland, we'll find out. All right. So let me stop sharing that. Let me get some of this stuff up out of there. I'm going to take a All right, let's get busy. Let's get busy. All right. I ain't show my face on it. What up? What up? What up? All right, so let's get busy. We're gonna get into some of these main issues what we have right here, right? So let me start off with this so you guys get a clear understanding of what the United States is and is not. Now, this right here was done in a congressional record March 17, 1993. This is 60 years after the 1933 New Deal that Roosevelt did. Right? This is from Senator James Traficant Jr. in Ohio, addressing the House. Mr. Speaker, we are here now in Chapter 11. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with bankruptcy, there is a Chapter 11. You have your Chapter 7, you have your Chapter 13, you have your Chapter 11, you have some other chapters too as well, but this is Chapter 11. Now, this is 1993. What went on in 1993? Remember, we had Desert Storm and all this stuff. Anytime that there was some national banking emergency of some sort, or they didn't want to pay their debt, what did they do? Start some type of proxy war. Okay? So we are now here in Chapter 11. Members of Congress are official trustees presiding over the greatest reorganization of any bankrupt entity in world history, the U.S. government. So let me translate that. The U.S. government just did a Chapter 11 reorganization in bankruptcy. And from there, Congress became official trustees, presiding over that organization, that reorganization. Now, this is 1993. This is 30 years after the civil rights movement started happening. This is 60 years after the New Deal. This is actually 70 years after the Indian Citizenship Act. Okay? We are setting forth, hopefully, a blueprint for our future. Let me get my phone up here so I can see anybody. Like I said, if you guys come up here and you're in the back chat wanting to come up, you need to let me know in the front chat, because I'm looking at the chat from my phone. I'm sharing my whole screen, so I don't see the chat at all. So if you want to hit that panel, let me know that you're in the back. But let me get through this, and then I'll pull you up. All right, so we are setting forth, hopefully, a blueprint for our future. There are some who say it is a coroner's report that will lead to our demise. Okay, this is what they say in 1993 in Congress. Okay, it is an established fact that the United States federal government has been dissolved by the emergency. Now, this is actually, I think this is more narrative. Okay, so it says it is an established fact that the United States federal government has been dissolved by the Emergency Banking Act, March 9th, 1933, 48 Stat 1, Public Law 89-719, declared by Franklin Roosevelt, being bankrupt and insolvent, HJR 192, 73rd Congress in session, June 5th, 1933. Joint resolution to suspend the gold standard and abrogate the gold clause, dissolve the sovereign authority of the United States in the official capacities of all United States governmental offices, officers, and departments, and is further evidence that the United States federal government exists today in name only. What's up, Draco? Now it's up to you guys to decide how much validity you're going to give this. Right? Outside the fact that you have the Emergency Banking Act, you have public law here, you have HJR 192, 73rd Congress, joint resolutions, suspend the gold standard, abrogate the gold clause, dissolve the sovereign authority of the United States. This is what I've always been saying. If you can't use constitutional money, do you have a valid and legitimate government? No, you don't. They're saying it right here. Now, in that last part, it says that it dissolved the sovereign authority of the United States. And in doing that, it also dissolved all the official capacities of all United States governmental offices, officers, and departments. And it only exists today in name only. So if you're walking up in court, if you're getting pulled over, if you get into some type of loan agreement, mortgage, or whatever you're doing, is it actually being fully supported and guaranteed under some sovereign authority? No. This is what this is saying. No. So that means all offices and officers and departments, right? And let's just deal with what we deal with. Department of Social Services, Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Child Support Services, Child Protective Services. All these things that we get hit on all the time, getting pulled over. All of these things, right? All of these things are considered to be, and what they're saying in this congressional setting is gone. Or what they consider to be dissolved. So if it's dissolved, it's just like a business. You got a business and you no longer want to do that business. You got to report to the state and otherwise that you are actually dissolving this corporation. The only thing that deals with dissolving is a corporation. The only thing that can actually do bankruptcy are corporations and individuals. The other thing about bankruptcy, it only deals with credit and debt. or creditors and debtors. So if the United States government, the U.S. government, is actually filing bankruptcy, that means that they're debtors and they haven't paid their debt to whoever is considered to be creditors. But you're filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the United States. So who do you owe that you're not paying? Or why are you reorganizing? Is it to get out of paying? That's what I'm talking about. Original RCJ, Naughty, what's happening? All right, so let's keep reading. The receivers of the United States bankruptcy are the international bankers via the United Nations, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund. Now, you know, Trump started some damn peace, thing, the Department of Peace or some stuff like that, right? To separate himself from these international bankers. And I just showed the previous videos, these international bankers, that's connected to the Lloyds of London, if I can just speculate on that. The United Nations, we know who that is. The World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, we don't know who that is. But I would say they pretty much connected within one. So it also says that all United States offices, officials, and departments are now operating within a de facto status. Now, remember, I pulled up the definition of what a de facto status is, right? So in name only, under emergency war powers. With the constitutional Republican form of government now dissolved, the receivers of the bankruptcy have adopted a new form of government for the United States. This new form of government is known as a democracy, being an established socialist communist order under a new governor for America. This act was instituted and established by transferring and or placing the office of the Secretary of the Treasury to that of the governor of the International Monetary Fund. So the Secretary of the Treasury, which is Scott Besson at this point in time, who is actually over the Internal Revenue Service as well as commissioner, they moved him over as a governor. But Trump allegedly transferred that back to where the Internal Revenue Service is now under the control of the Treasury Department. And Scott Besson is over that. That's why he's the Secretary of the Treasury and he's the Internal Revenue Service Commissioner. What does that mean for us common folk? Who knows? That's what's happening. So in that governor of the International Monetary Fund, there's a public law, 94564, page 8, section HR, which is House Resolution 13955, reads in part, the U.S. Secretary of Treasury receives no compensation for representing the United States. So take that as you may. So that means the Secretary of the Treasury is not doing any of that. So United States Congressional Record, May 4th, 1992, page H2891, Senator and Chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Banking, Finance, and Urban Affairs, Senator Henry Gonzalez of Texas, speaking on national and international thievery in high places. We are bankrupted. We are insolvent on every level of our national life, whether it is corporate, whether it is just plain you and I out there with the life of debt that we have all piled up, private debt, credit cards, and whatnot, or whether it is the government, we are insolvent. How long would it take before that nasty mega truth is conveyed? It still ain't being conveyed. This is 1992. This is 34 years. Still ain't being conveyed. Even though people are saying it in certain places, they don't stay on it. They speak about it and they don't stay there. Yep, I know, Nate. I know that's you. Oh, yeah, you was talking tonight. All right. Let me mind my business. All right, so United States Congressional Record, January 19th, 1976, page 240, Marjorie S. Holt, Maryland. Mr. Speaker, many of us recently received a letter from the World Affairs Council of Philadelphia inviting members of Congress to participate in a ceremonial signing of a Declaration of Interdependence. You see right here, it says interdependence versus independence on January 30th in Congress Hall. Now, they have been invited to participate in a ceremonial signing of a Declaration of Interdependence on January 30th in Congress Hall. Now, this is 1976. Adjacent, so you remember what Richard Nixon did in 1978. Adjacent to the Independence Hall in Philadelphia. Okay, so just listen closely. That's why I'm reading slow. Adjacent to the Independence Hall in Philadelphia, a number of members of Congress have been invited to sign this document, lending their prestige to its theme. But I want the record to show my strong opposition to this declaration. It calls for the surrender of our national sovereignty to international organizations. It declares that our economy should be regulated by international authorities. It proposes that we enter a new world order that will redistribute the wealth created by the American people. Mr. Speaker, this is an obscenity that defiles our Declaration of Independence. Signed 200 years ago in Philadelphia. We fought a great revolution for independence and individual liberty, but now it is proposed that we participate in a world socialist order. See, what these people don't know, because back in those days, they really thought they won something, but they didn't. It was a stalemate. So Great Britain made a deal because they put their people involved with the United States to say, all right, y'all just fall over here, sit back and be 007 and make sure that eventually we'll get the power back, which happened. So, are we proud and free people? Or are we a carcass to be picked by the jackals of the world who want to destroy us? When one cuts through the high-flown rhetoric of this Declaration of Interdependence, one finds key phrases that tell the story. For example, it states that the economy of all nations is a seamless web and that no one nation can any longer effectively maintain its processes of production and monetary systems without recognizing the necessity for collaborative regulation by international authorities. How do you like, where are we at here? How do you like the idea of international authorities controlling our production and our monetary system? Now, this is 1976. So if you go back, what is that? If you go back 1976, you go back 110 years, right? 1866. Yeah, you guys didn't know what happened. So obviously you didn't know what happened. You're still trying to figure it out. See, and these people that are in office are these people that actually were slaves and servants at that time. First generation at best, foreigners. So they really didn't understand the details. They were just on a need-to-know basis of what actually was taking place. Next thing you know, this reorganization, this whole thing was put right on their door. And they didn't know what to say about it. And they didn't know anything about it. But I'm pretty sure they got the memo. And then they shut up after that. If they want to stay in the positions that they are in, or even worse. So it says, Mr. Speaker, how could any American dedicated to our national independence and freedom tolerate such an idea? We're going to get back down to this. We're going to get this, right? Now, here's where we're going to stop at. Check this out. A dollar is a measure of weight by the Coinage Act of 1792 and 1900. Remember, I just mentioned that yesterday, which is still in full force today. I added the word full force today. A dollar specifies a certain quantity, 24.8 grains of gold or 371.25 grains of silver. In Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition, dollar, the money unit employed in the United States of the value of 100 cents or of any combination of coins totaling 100 cents. Cent, a coin of the United States, the least in value of those now minted. It is the 100th part of a dollar. All right. Now, yeah, I got to read this part. Let's go right here. Okay, right here. Federal Reserve notes, FRNs make no such promises and are not money. Federal Reserve note is a debt obligation of the federal United States government, not money. The federal United States government, the U.S. Congress, were not and have never been authorized by the Constitution for the United States of America to issue currency of any kind, but only lawful money, gold and silver coin. Okay, now this is congressional. Nah, not me. Congressional. It's right here. Let's go here. Now, this is said, now we're going to get into trust law, right? Remember, Title USC Section 8. Okay, remember that. HJR 192, you saw that. I just read for the fact that the United States government wasn't authorized to do anything, but actually was the constitutor and liable for all debts, public and private. Now, let's go to page 9. Now, we're getting into dealing in this debt situation, right? And we're dealing with the whole mechanics. I'm just trying to see how much you guys can keep up. All right, so this part right here is facilitating pooled investments. All right, and we're dealing with trust law, and you got to take in part what we went over yesterday. You got to go back and look. Can't go backwards, but I will bring these things in play so you guys can understand that, right? I'm just repeating myself, just showing you different examples. Traditional trust law imposed a pair of rules requiring earmarking, forbidding commingling of trust property. So, traditional trust law imposed a pair of rules requiring earmarking and forbidding commingling of trust property. So these pair of rules that required a trustee to keep personally owned property separate from property held in trust and to keep the property of different trusts separate from one another. If you remember, I brought up corporate juris secundum and I showed you banks and banking and what creates a special deposit and the will of the trust and the donor, the definition, and the donee, what the definition is in Black's Law and how they define these things. We're right up in here. Okay? These rules prevented a trustee from favoring the trustee's own account or from playing favorites amongst trust accounts. For example, contending after the fact that a winning investment has been made for the trustee's account, whereas a loser has been bought for the trust or for trust A as opposed to trust B. These rules turned out to be overbroad and as applied to the managerial trust because they impeded trustees from pooling trust accounts for purposes of diversifying investments. Now, remember when we talked about yesterday with the OIDs and when we talked about these pooling accounts, right? We talked about QSIPs. We talked about all these different things that they do. We talked about the REMIC and the Real Estate Investment Trust. What they do is just this, what they're not supposed to be doing. But if there is no checks and balances, right? And we go back what we talked about here. If there is, what it says right here, if there is, let's go back. We're going to keep it right here so you guys can understand this right here. Right here. If the fact is that the gold, this whole thing that happened with HJR 192 in this paragraph right here, if the sovereign authority of the United States was dissolved, the official capacities were dissolved, United States government officers dissolved, and departments dissolved and lost all of their sovereign authority, where's the checks and balances at? And everything is being done in name only, then why can't they do this right here? So, as the immense advantages of diversifying investments came to be better understood, trust law began to enforce a duty to diversify. Because, however, most trusts are too small to construct a portfolio that is adequately diversified across available asset classes and issuers. Effective diversification of smaller trust accounts required the ability to pool trust funds for investment. The main pooling device that emerged was the common trust fund, what we talked about yesterday, effectively an in-house mutual fund operated by a bank trust department. Such funds require legislation to overcome the rule against commingling, which is what the Uniform Common Trust Fund Act of 1938. In more recent times, as mutual funds have become the pooling vehicle of choice for investment trust funds, the states have enacted legislation authorizing bank trust departments to invest in affiliated mutual funds. The Uniform Trust Code codifies a version of this mutual fund enabling legislation. So this is where you get into the Chevron doctrine, the Chevron deference, which Supreme Court overturned, which pretty much overturned that these companies, like they're doing with these banks and so on and so forth, where the courts are actually relying on these legislations and these banks' policies to make their decisions, which actually rules out any Article 2, Article 3, any constitutional protected rights, even equitable rights. You have none. So let's get over to the next one, right? So we're going to go over real quick what these codes are, right? I keep mentioning them. I'm going to show you, right? This is 31 USC, United States Code, Section 5118. Gold clauses and consent to sue. In this section, 1, gold clause means a provision in or related to an obligation alleging to give the obligee a right to require payment in gold, a particular United States coin or currency, or United States money measured in gold, or a particular United States coin or currency. 2, this is A2, public debt obligation, means a domestic obligation issued or guaranteed by the United States government to repay money or interest. Now, let me pull this down so you guys ain't reading nothing else. Let me translate that for you. The obligee, right? They say the obligor is the one that is actually the one that is is the one that's demanding payment. The one that has the right to enforce payment. The obligee is the one that is like me and you, the one that has to pay. That's what they say. So if that's the case, that means the obligee, and you know what? Let's do this real quick. Let's do this. Let's do this. We're gonna look it up real quick. What is, and I'm not gonna show you, I don't want to have to stop my screen. What is an obligee? Just take my word for it. An obligee is a person, organization, or entity to whom a legal obligation, duty, or debt is owed by another party. Okay, so wait a minute. Obligee is a person, organization, or entity to whom a legal obligation, duty, or debt is owed by another party. The obligor. Okay, so the obligor. So the obligee is the bank. Just say it's the bank. I had them backwards. The obligee is the bank. The obligor is us, right? Me. I'm the obligor. I got to owe the obligee. Because they are the E's, we are the O's. You're right. Often used in contracts, bonding, and family law, the obligee is the recipient of services, payments, or the protected party if a contract is not fulfilled. So the obligee is the recipient of services, payments, or the protected party if a contract is not fulfilled. Now, to me, it seems that that's kind of interesting right there. Let's go to, I got to go over here to this one real quick. All right, so let's see what an obligor is. I got to do this. We got to get this straight. Okay, obligor, a person who is bound to another by contract or other legal procedure. That's not enough. An obligor, also known as a debtor. Cool. All right. All right. So obligor is the debtor. The obligee is considered to be the creditor. All right. So we got that straight. Now let's get back to it. So A1, gold clause means a provision or related to an obligation alleging to give the obligee a right to require payment in gold, a particular United States coin or currency, or United States money measured in gold, or a particular United States coin or currency. Now let's deal with that, right? Let's play creditor and debtor. I'm the debtor, you're the creditor. I owe you money, right? Under the circumstances, I'm saying I already know 31 USC 5118. So A says the obligee, right, which is considered to be the creditor, the one that is contractually verified to be the one that is due payment based on something they provided, right? A service or whatever, payment, whatever it may be. But what I do know is these are the only three things that they have to require payment in. Now, at no point in time it says that you can pay by a debit card, credit card, or anything of that nature. It says a particular United States coin or currency. Now, under the circumstances, right? Gold, United States coin or currency, United States money measured in gold, right? It's the coinage act right here. Now, two, right? Now, this is two. Now, that's one. This is two. I want you guys to pay very close attention. One is not two. Two is not one. These are two separate things here. Now, under these type of situations right here in one, Number 2 is stating this: public debt obligation means a domestic obligation, right? Obligor, obligee. So if you got an obligor, obligee relationship, the key thing in there is oblige or obligation, right? Means a domestic obligation, and it has to be domestic because anything that you sign, they're going to ask if you're a United States citizen. If you check no, you pretty much not getting those benefits and privileges or those services. So means a domestic obligation issued or guaranteed by the United States government to repay money or interest. So if you go get a loan and they ask you, need your social, need your ID, everything, this, that, and the other, in order for you to get this loan, that is called a guarantee. What they call a personal guarantee or a PG or whatever it might be. So they're saying you are the one guaranteeing a loan, right? By giving your social and all that information. Listen closely. If this section says that public debt obligation means all debts, unless something was done offshore, we consider it to be a public debt, right? Because you're going to check that United States citizen box means a domestic obligation issued or guaranteed by the United States government. So that means that what the bank is not telling you is that really we need that information because the only way we can get it is through the United States government or the Treasury. We got to get that access, right? Because the United States government is the one that issues these identifications or fund them. Like, for instance, Department of Motor Vehicles, so on and so forth. So they're either doing one of two things. They're repaying money or interest. So they're guaranteeing all that. So if that's the case, who is liable? Now, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. I need to go here. I need to go here. I need to pull up real quick. 18 USC subsection 8. And you guys need to see this one. Just give me a second and get with it. We're going to pull this up real because you guys got to see what I'm talking about. I should have had this up anyway. Let's pull him up. USC. You wouldn't be there, would you? Shit. Yeah, I'm not coming off this. So let me pull this up real quick. 18 USC section 8. So it's 18 USC subsection 8. 18 USC subsection 8. You guys got to see this. So we're going to do the whole screen real quick and I'm going to get right back out. Right. Obligations or other security of the United States. Let me pull up 31 USC 5118. Let me pull that up. All right. So this is what we was just looking at. Sent to sue. Right. This is where we was at. So public debt obligations, right? 18 USC term obligation. This is Obligation or other security of the United States defined. The term obligation or security of the United States. And if you actually look at what this says right here, obligation issued or guaranteed, right? So when it's issued or guaranteed, that's what you would call or other security. Okay, it includes all bonds, certificates of indebtedness. Remember what we was reading in publication 1212 dealing with OID. Bonds, certificate of indebtedness, national bank currency, Federal Reserve notes, Federal Reserve bank notes, coupons, United States notes, coupons, treasury notes, gold certificates, silver certificates, fractional notes, certificates of deposit, bills, checks, or drafts for money drawn by or upon authorized officers of the United States, drawn by or upon authorized officers of the United States, stamps, and other representatives of value of whatever denomination issued under any act of Congress and canceled United States stamps. So if that's the case, any act of Congress, right? Remember I showed you. Remember I showed you. Remember what I showed you. Okay, these are acts of Congress right here. Right? These are acts of Congress right here. Right? So here you go. Okay, so when we get right here, let's see what public. All right. So public debt obligation means a domestic obligation issued or guaranteed by the United States government to repay money or interest. Guaranteed. Now, when you do a PG and you get guaranteed, they say you guaranteed and you qualify for $500,000 to get that house. Okay, cut the check. I'm guaranteed? Yeah, you good. Okay, cut the check. Well, no, you got to find a house. No, I'm good. Just have that check ready. Cut that check, please. I don't need you to do anything else. You said I'm already pre-qualified and it's guaranteed. Thank you. Send me my check. Better yet, you can deposit it in my account. You can open up the account right now, deposit in there, set it right there. What interest do you need on that money? You want your service fee and all this stuff? Well, put that in there. But when I do my deal, it's going to be a cash deal, and it's going to be wired from my account to their account, or I'm going to ask for a cashier's check and pay them that way. We don't need nothing else. I don't need escrow. I don't need anything of that nature. If I use escrow, just like I mentioned to you in that Hardman case, I'm going to bring these people, just advise me and just be counsel along the way to make sure everything is straight. We need a full preliminary title report. How much is that? $250? Okay, I'm going to pay that $250. Give me the full title report. Thank you. That's all I need. I don't need you to do nothing else. Get your hands out of my pocket. I'll get back to you. All I need is what you call a limited basis. It's all I need you for, just to run this title report. Thank you. You don't need escrow? No, this is a cash deal. I don't need escrow. What's up, big dog? What's up at the cut? I can't see. I'm looking at my phone. I can't really big anything up, but I hope you guys hear me. If you guys want to get on the panel, you need to let me know by getting in the front chat, not the back chat. Let me know, because I don't see you right now. I don't view you right now. All right. Now, let's go down here. B, the United States government may not pay out any gold coin. A person lawfully holding United States coin and currency may present the coins and currency to the secretary for exchange, dollar for dollar. You remember when I read HJR 192? And it said that the United States will be liable for all debts, public and private, dollar for dollar. For other United States coin and currency other than gold and silver coins that may be lawfully held, Secretary shall make the exchange under regulations prescribed by the secretary. All right. You guys got to know this. And don't think it's outside your wheelhouse. The government withdraws the consent given to anyone to assert against the government, its agency, or its officers, employees, or agents a claim on a gold clause, public debt obligation, or interest on the obligation for the United States coins or currency, or arising out of the surrender, requisition, seizure, or acquisition of United States coins or currency, gold, or silver. Okay. D. In this subsection, obligation. Hold on at the cut. I'll get you in a minute. Let me finish this presentation. Be patient. In this subsection, obligation means any obligation except United States currency, payable in United States money. An obligation issue containing a gold clause or governed by a gold clause is discharged on payment, dollar for dollar. The United States coin or currency that is legal tender at the time of payment. This paragraph does not apply an obligation issued after October 27, 1977. Okay, so now you see what the clear thing is. All right. Now let me get back here. Let me get this back up. Let's go to the window. Let's get back to the PDF. In the meantime, let me take a look at the chat real quick. What's happening? What's happening? Who's this? The cut. The cut. And your business. Big dog. Black Wolf. Going on, brother? Black Wolf. Big Ross. What's going on? Nate, what it do? What it do? What it do? What it do? J-Dub. All right. I'm going to put this StreamYard in the chat. Bam. I am going to, and I'm not done, but I'm going to, where is this thing at? Let me go ahead and I'm going to pin it to the message. Pin it to the top. All right. All right, now. We got over here. We talked about that. Now, this deals with redemption and cancellation of currency. You guys can look at that. Now, here's another thing you need to deal with when you're dealing with these situations, right? Any situation, right? You got a notification somebody got an issue dealing with, but if the brother is listening, based on what I showed, it doesn't matter the situation. It all applies. Okay? It all applies in every situation. If you're dealing with anything that they want to try to conflate, and if they, as a crime of some sort, there's a monetary value to it, right? Anytime they mention charges, there's a monetary value to it. Under the circumstances, regardless of what they got going on, they are still portraying themselves as an officer of the court or officer, a public officer or a public official, bonded, oath taking in their capacity. Whether it's fake or not, they still have it. All you do is you got to call them on it and make sure under any circumstances that you make sure that you give them a letter of instructions exactly what you want them to do. Knowing your rights and everything else. That's the start of everything. People want to put all this paper in this shit, and the shit don't even matter. the best thing to do is shut up. And then go talk to whoever you need to talk to behind and tell them, make sure that my Fifth Amendment is protected. And you do what I tell you to do. And if you don't, you're out of here. And it's called ineffective counsel. Now, a lot of people will be talking about these PDs and everything like that, but if you know what you're doing, you can make that PD work. You especially get some of them young ones. You could interview a bunch of them. Go in there, find a young one that's got snot in his nose, got his ears is hella wet. He might be trying to make a name for himself. That's how you got to talk to him. Win. That's all I say. Win. Isn't that what you're here for? Yeah. Okay, win. So, Foreign Agent Registration Act, right? Foreign Agent Registration Act is a United States law passed in 1938, 5 years after 1933, requiring that agents representing the interests of foreign powers in a political or quasi-political capacity. You gotta look up what that means, quasi. Disclose their relationship with the foreign government and information about related activities and finances. Now we're gonna go real deep on this quasi-political capacity thing, right? Because basically, in the information, and I did not pull it up, but the other thing that I pulled up yesterday when it got to talking about the articles, one of these articles pretty much stated that no attorney can operate a political position, and I'm gonna find that and pull it up. Okay. The purpose is to facilitate evaluation by the government and the American people of the statements and activities of such persons. The law is administered by the FARA registration unit of the Counter-Espionage Section in the National Security Division of the United States Department of Justice. See, this is kind of the thing they're having with a lot of these foreign politicians or these elected officials having their allegiances in other places. This is what you're dealing with USAID, dealing with the Israeli funding of some of these politicians and some of these people having dual citizenship, and pretty much having foreign interests. The same situation with the Somalian woman, these people that are actually in public positions of oath that are actually assisting foreigners in their endeavors here while usurping the American people of what is supposed to be due to them or us. You see? Now, they automatically consider themselves to be foreign, right? Let's deal with attorneys and judges. They all consider themselves to be foreign if at the same time they violate their oath of office, they work against their oath, whether real or not, secret or public, whatever it might be, their canons, their judicial and attorney ethics, their ethical duties. If they don't, they are foreign. If they're acting in opposition, or if they're intersecting or in conflict with the Constitution and their oath that is registered and bonded, in which they raise their hand to protect the people against all enemies, foreign and domestic, they are foreign. Now we need to see if they're registered in the Foreign Agents Registration. Right? Right. Foreign Registration Unit. Are they there? If they're not there, then what are they? So if they're not in the Foreign Agent Registration Unit, then basically what they need to be is they need to be any knock on the door. You know what I'm saying? By the National Security Division and the Department of Justice. We have rogue agents in here. We have people operating outside of their judicial official capacity. And they need to be removed immediately. And anything that has been done to me based on this ultra vires type of official in that capacity needs to be reversed, because there's no statute of limitation on any of these violations that will be done, constitutional, fraud upon the court, whatever it might be. If it trespassed upon me, that's what it is. It's trespassing upon you in many different ways without full remedy and equal protection. Okay? Now, let's take us to right here, right? This is what you would call, this is like an excerpt on the Uniform Bonding Code, right? So if you see the Uniform Bonding Code at the top right there, this is the expert on the Uniform Bonding Code. Okay, let's start right here. Bonding principles and maxims. In plain language, the purpose of bonding is to provide redress for accidental damage and to prevent deliberate negligence, gross negligence, deliberate damage, and criminal malpractice, i.e. malfeasance. Civil malpractice bonds are designed to protect an agency from its own officers. Civil malpractice bonds are designed to protect the public from official accidental malpractice. Civil malpractice and civil malpractice bonds are bonds against situations that might occur in statutory construction, in the enforcement process, or in the enforcement act of an enforcement officer, executive. You see? So right here, you got all three branches. Civil malpractice bonds are bonds against situations that might occur in statutory construction, legislative, in the enforcement process, judicative, or in the enforcement act of an enforcement officer, executive. Okay, now we're going to come down here, right here. The only suits which officers of a renegade government can be made to answer to are publicly filed criminal complaints with civil value noted per Title 18, subsection 241, and Title 18, subsection 242, because failure of prosecution would reinstate the lawful remedies of dueling and civil war. Therefore, all prosecutors and other supporting officials must be bonded. Must be bonded. A prosecutor who does not prosecute a malfeasant official becomes a malfeasant prosecutor and thrusts the public at the bonding company. Let me translate that. That means if the prosecutor, let's say the DA or the AG, depending on what jurisdiction you're in, or the CA, which is your city attorney, if they're not prosecuting, right? If they're not doing this prosecution, if they're not doing that, then basically they're now in that position. Now, let's get down here. Let me get down here. I'm trying to find this right here. All right. Claims access pursuant to civil rights law. Claims access to consumer rights law. Let me answer this phone call real quick. All right. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. But yeah, let's get back to it. All right, so let's get back to it. So right here, so this says claims access pursuant to civil rights law. Improper enforcement, which run counter to the U.S. Constitution, can involve as many as 35 violations of the provisions of the United States Constitution valued per 18 U.S.C. 241, which is conspiracy against rights, at $10,000 per constitutional violation, per offense, per officer, per injured party, when the officer is acting as a part of a law enforcement agency effort. Now take a snapshot of this. 35 violations per 18 USC 241 at $10,000 per constitutional violation, per offense, per officer, per injured party. Okay? Now, right here, the statutes enabling the suit in civil claim are part of the Federal Civil Rights Act of 1871, 42 USC subsection 1983, 85, and 86. These statutes guarantee, among other things, the equal protection of the law for racial minority groups. Although argument is commonly raised, these statutes don't apply only to racial minority groups, they actually apply to racial discrimination regardless of the race. Now, the issue can even be clearer by a second very appropriate example. The Legal Professions Labor Union, the Bar Association, was established immediately after the Civil War to substitute a system of general slavery to replace the old system of black slavery by guaranteeing a monopoly of the courts for attorneys, judges, and municipal corporations, which is your city, county, and state. So if you didn't know, your city, county, and state are considered to be municipal corporations. This labor union, the Bar Association, has forbidden anyone but union bar attorneys to give legal advice and has prevented anyone from being assisted in court by a non-union lawyer. These are the problems that's been going on. Or by non-lawyer, thus converting the courts into closed union shops. This corresponds to pre-Civil War United States, wherein blacks were not taught to read and were not allowed to get a public education, lest they become strong enough persons to speak out against their repression and overthrow their slave masters. Now, maybe if that pertains to you and you call yourself that, then that pertains to you. The unionizing of the legal system by the Bar Association makes the people individually and the public as a whole a legal justice minority group with access to the Civil Rights Act of 1871. The Bar Association Act in violation of antitrust and anti-monopoly laws of the U.S. Okay? Now, if you want to deal with antitrust, right, that's the Sherman Antitrust Act. And the anti-monopoly laws, that's also within that frame and is actually codified in Title 15 USC, subsection 1 and subsection 2. All right. Now, government officials maintain control of the courts by licensing lawyers and by forbidding the common citizens to practice law or give legal advice. Three phrases which have never been adequately defined for any statute. To protect government dominance, law schools. Okay, we don't need to worry about all that. To protect malfeasance, attorneys are forbidden to file criminal complaints against malfeasance officials, officer and clerks, and against officers of other corporations. If they disobey, they lose their license to practice law. All right. Where are we at? Okay, here we go. This is the last part right here. Now, the legislative bond, a statute in order to be bondable, must satisfactorily define the terms and concepts used or involved in the construction of the statute. A statute shall not, hey, what's going on, Sharice? I only can see from my phone. So if you want to come up here, you can. Just let me know in the chat. I see you right there, Nadia. I'm gonna get with you in a minute. Let me complete this out. A statute, in order to be bondable, must satisfactorily define the terms and concept or involved in the construction of the statute. Definitions: ordinary, malfeasance, malpractice. Now, here's the key thing about malpractice. Everybody think it's just medical. Malpractice is dealing with improper or immoral conduct. See, that's a separate one. That's why they got the med by the first one and improper or immoral conduct. So that means other officials can be sued and found guilty of malpractice. Now, here's these other ones: slander and libel, oral malicious falsehood. It could be as simple as somebody trying to foreclose on you, going to court and say that you're, or then take you to an unlawful detainer court and say that you're a tenant. That's oral and malicious falsehood. You're taking me out of my ownership as a landowner or somebody that has rights to title and interest in an estate and land to a damn tenant. That's malicious, and that's a falsehood. Written slander, that could be considered a slander as well. You calling me a debtor, that could be slanderous as well. That put me in a position. You saying somebody that's in default and refusing to do something, that's slander as well. That's getting my character. You actually reporting these things falsely to the credit bureaus, and there's mistakes in there. It's not accurate. That's slander. Because slander, libel can actually be done electronically too as well. And if it's being done on the internet and being done in the systems, if things are being filed in the public, where it's filed in the county, in the state, or in the federal side, or wherever it might be, that could be libel, because it's slander. If you don't have it to be true, especially if we don't have an agreement. Now, I'm trying to find this ultraviars here. Let me find ultraviars. You guys got to know what that is. All right, ultraviars. No results. Nothing. Oh, it ain't even in here. I thought ultraviars was in here. Nothing. All right. So let me get Nadia up here. Oh, he up here. Okay. Yeah, you come off mute.
All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There was some cats that was saying a lot yesterday, talking about they coming up here. I said, okay, let's see. They ain't coming.
Well, we here.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let me get in this first one.
All right.
You mentioned bill as an exchangeable instrument or a debt instrument that the United States is liable for or produces for such debt.
Yeah, what was that, the 31 USC one I showed?
You was given definitions of like exchangeable instruments. Bonding, you was under bonding at the time.
Okay.
All right. So, under Cornell's law, a bill is a formal written statement, claim, declaration, or instrument. A bill may be equitable pleading of a claim in a court of equity. An early common law, a bill in equity was I'm sorry. Um, at earlier common law, a bill in equity was analogous to a declaration of law. A bill may also be a statement indicating that one owes a certain sum of money to another, such as invoice or itemized list of charging, billing a particular. Um, a bill is also legislative proposal offered for debate prior to the enactment into law, such as a draft or a statute. Okay, so this bill, and you said that the United States is responsible for all debt, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at a dollar bill, you have a dollar bill in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Pull it out right quick. Let me show you something.
All right, I got it up.
All right, on the front of it, in title, it says what?
It says Federal Reserve Note, United
All
States of
right,
America.
Federal Reserve Note. This
Mm-hmm.
is who created this. This is a private entity. This is a check. All right,
Okay.
turn it over on the back.
All right.
All right, you see the Great Seal?
Mm-hmm.
All right, over on the right, you see where the eagle is.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the signature underneath the eagle. What does that say?
Don't see a signature.
In print, though, it says it in print. Of the United States. Of the United States. On the back of the check, where you were signing your check to endorse your check, it's on the back of the United States. You see that? The check
Yeah.
is being printed, and on the back of it is being endorsed by the United States. They're paying their debt. They're endorsing the debt. So no, the United States is on one line that owes for all debt. When you acquire a debt under the perceived name that's identified as you, 99.999% of the time, the social security number is going to be tied to that debt. That makes you a U.S. officer, a federal officer. You're acquired to benefits and federal privileges from that issuing as a citizen, federal citizen. Now you're part of the debt. That debt comes in the United States Assembly. You're taking on responsibility for the debt. This is why we in a national debt. This is one, i.e., or another reason why one in themselves acquires a single individual debt because they're under the United States admission as an agent working for the United States. All citizens are has the ability to obtain amenities from the United States, and the main reason to be a citizen, even if you're non-immigration or even immigrant, is for work purposes only. The Social Security number,
Mm-hmm.
work purposes only. But we go and use this thing and they're requiring a debt. Now we're placing ourselves as the responsible party at like the United States, as the United States, representing the United States to be for this debt.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's what I
in
was saying. That's why I agree with you.
yeah,
It's kind of like participating in the fraud a little bit.
right. Still in that. Correct. Now one more thing I wanted to get in. If you go to let's see what is this? Fact if you go to the FACTA, which is FACTA. This is gonna be the the Department for the Embassy, United States Embassy, and also in conjunction with the Social Security Office.
Right.
This is what their mission of a citizen. And I want you to hear this closely. A person is a U.S. citizen by birth, naturalization, or operation of law. Here it is. Persons except for the children of foreign diplomatic officers accredited to the United States. You understand that, right? It's not saying that they're foreign and abroad. It's just saying that a foreign to the United States is accredited to operate with them. You
Mm-hmm.
understand? So you're separate. All right, let me keep going. Or other persons with comparable diplomatic status. Now that was in open quotation. Open quotation, um, 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 crescent moon, open crescent moon, except for the children of foreign diplomat officers accredited to the United States or other persons with diplomatic comparable diplomatic status. Close crescent moon. Now that's both sides. That's like say you're an Indian and you're part of a tribe and you're not a U.S. citizen. You're officially member of the tribe. Now you're identified as a comparable diplomatic status. Check that. All right. So now born in the 50 states, the District of Columbia, and in most cases Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Guam, and people born or after November 4th, 1986, in northern the Marina Islands, are U.S. citizens. Also, many persons born abroad to the U.S. parents, open crescent, or parent, close crescent, may be U.S. citizens. May be U.S. citizens. All U.S. citizens are considered U.S. nationals, but not all U.S. nationals are U.S. citizens. And then they ended that. That's under the United States citizen and U.S. nationality under the FACTA identification. So it gives us a way to see that we're not really affiliated unless we are in that fraud convention. You know what I'm saying? I geeked right now, so I kind of lost a little bit. But I was just trying to give you a roundabout visual sight besides who's obligated to be up under the tax and who's not really obligated to be up under the tax. Oh, and what else I wanted to show you? That I think that was. Oh no, that wasn't it. That wasn't it. Here go another one. Here go this one. Who can be assigned a social security number? This is what I wanted to read. Persons eligibility are eligible for social security assignment. We can assign you a social security number if you meet the evidence required in statute 422.107 and you are one, United States citizen, or two, an alien lawfully admitted to the United States for permanent residence or under other authority of law permitting you. That means when you come up under authority of law is taking oath, which now you're deputized. You're an agent. Okay, so let me keep going. Where was I? Um Other authority under law permitting you to work as an agent in the United States. Statute 422.105. Describe how we determine if non-immigrant alien is permitted to work in the United States or an alien who cannot provide evidence of alien status showing lawful admission to the U.S. or an alien with evidence of lawful admission but without authority to work. Again, lawful, being deputized. in the United States. If the evidence described in Statute 422.107E does not exist, but only for a valid non-work reason, we consider you to have a valid non-work reason if you need a social security number to satisfy the federal statute or regulations that requires you to have a social security number in order to receive federal funded benefits to which you have otherwise established entitlement and you reside either in or outside the USA. The other benefits would be Title 4. Title 4 falls up under foreign people. Whether you're foreign or you're here, born here, you're eligible for funding for educational. So you can come to America and not be working, but the only way you can do that as an agent, the only way you can do that is if it's for educational reason only. That's what it's gonna fall up under the FIFSA, FAFSA. Um, but it's certain requirements that I might need to reach, and it's like, man, it's so difficult to get through. You know what I'm saying? When you're reading, bro, when you're reading, and every part of what you're reading is to evidence, but
Well,
the words.
that takes me to the next part under like what you're talking about, right? So even within the fact that most of us in our day, without us knowing, will participate
What you
in
cooking in it?
is can you hear me? Okay. So we all pretty much have participated in some type of, what we consider now to be some type of in doing these transactions without our knowledge, and being ignorant of the law or the process and procedures, participated in some type of fraudulent activity that we didn't know anything about. But as long as we can make sure that we can provide evidence that this was actually done in the form of coercion or some other type of duress, then we indemnify ourselves of that. Now, this is where the special deposit situation gets in. I mean, I hang my hat on this, Nadi. This was my way of protecting myself in all matters. Is that what are we doing here? It's my question. Now, even within the fact that I did something or I endorsed something, I did it, whether I did knowingly or without full knowledge, this relationship between us, and that's why I started off with the first thing with Traficon, the Congress, and how they was talking about bankruptcy and all these things are pretty much de facto, is this deposit situation, the law in regards to deposits and trust law as well. So right here, it says, special deposit consists in the placing of specific kinds of money or property in the possession of the bank, with an obligation of the bank to return the identical thing deposited, the depositor retaining title. There's case law. Okay, now we get into banks and banking. This is give a little bit more detail, right? This is give a little bit more detail right here. And I did that, and I've showed it before, but I want to show it from a different angle. Is that number one, we could deal with the first part another time, where it says right here in this area right here, it says deposits in a bank are usually classified as general deposits, special deposits, and deposits for a specific purpose. The distinction becomes important most commonly where a depositor is seeking preference over other claimants of an insolvent bank. So right there is telling me that all of these banks are insolvent, and the only way they can generate any credit or any type of function is to get people to deposit their money into their bank. If nobody come and deposit money into their bank, they have nothing. They only have power that is given to them by these deposits, and we're just dealing with banks. The general deposit is given no preference, while the other two classes ordinarily are. A general deposit results from the ordinary depositor-bank relationship. Ownership of and control over the deposited money passes to the bank, and the depositor becomes a creditor of the bank. So even if it's a general deposit, right, when they say it gives no preference, but even in that matter, I'm still considered to be the creditor of that bank. A special deposit is one in which the money is deposited on the understanding that the identical money is to be returned to the depositor. A deposit for a specific purpose, as the term indicates, results when a deposit is made to be used only for a designated purpose. It is often held that the exact money deposited need not be safe deposit box liable for valuables which disappear from the box. It was said that a contract to keep the contents safely arose out of the nature of the transaction. All right, you back, Superman? All right, hold on a sec. The similarity between safe deposit companies and Baileys lies in the fact that the former, by express contract, assume certain duties, which in the absence of express contract are imposed upon the latter by law. So even then, if there's no express contract, there's still laws that are imposed on these people by law. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So
Yeah. Peace to the panel. Peace to the channel. What's up, Nani? What's up, Aton?
what's up? What's up, cowboy?
Let me ask y'all a question. Do y'all know that y'all can open up accounts with the Treasury? And this is what?
Yeah, it's called a consumer bank. You're right. And
No, no,
that's the real bank.
no. The Treasury, the United States Treasury.
Yeah.
It's not a bank. It's the Treasury.
It's a bank that operates the
No,
treasury.
brother. I'm asking you. Do you know that you can open up an account with the Treasury?
Yes, and they're gonna deal with you through consumer bank.
No, that's not
Oh
what
my
I'm talking
goodness.
about. That's not what I'm talking about. But go ahead. If that's what you know.
You're right. No, I'm saying you're right. But their finances through the bank called Consumer Bank. That's the federal
No,
government.
no. That's what I'm saying. Like what y'all talking about, what Aton just read, when he was making a distinguish between banks and the Treasury.
Yeah.
Like banks, you giving them money, so basically you're the creditor to the bank. With the Treasury, your account is just the money. It's not. They don't do anything with it.
Say that again.
They don't do anything with it. It just sits there. They're just the guardian of it.
Oh yeah. The treasury, true. True.
They don't loan it out nowhere. They're not
True,
gonna give
true,
you no interest money. But
true.
if
Supposedly.
I'm just saying.
But check this though.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you good. Ain't nothing to be sorry about. The banks that Aton is reading, you're a creditor only for the beginning opening of that account as an active account. When you go and open an account, the bank actually puts something on you, which is called banker's insurance. So they go and accreditate the off account, the account you don't see. So even if you close that bank account, you're still connected to that bank through that insurance, as the banker's insurance has been placed on you, and without your privy to the knowledge of it, right? So in a litigation, and you try to go after the bank and type in some type of say they shut your account down because you try to deposit a check someone sent you through the email, through the mail, and they said the check was fraudulent, so they try to afflict you with it. So you go and write the bank a letter now and contest it. If you don't request the information of the banker's insurance of the off account, when you go to court, they're gonna be able to show that they're the creditors to that account, because the account that they have for you is closed, but the account that's connected to the bank that's still inactive, but is active, but it's still in an off account. It's gonna be show that they're the creditor of the account. So it'll make you obsolete into winning any type of litigations from the bank. That's like a double clause they have. You got to be aware of that anytime you're trying to go after a bank. That's why most banks don't you don't hear too much shit about most banks, because people don't really go after banks for doing, unless it's fraudulent, embezzlement, and money laundering. That's the only time you're gonna actually hear about a bank getting jacked. Other than that, they don't really fall under no kind of criminal law. They usually quiet the case by paying off the case before it goes to a court session to be seen in public. Go ahead.
You good, Superman?
Yeah, I was just responding to what you was reading. Like when you was reading, like it was just pointing out two different types of banks.
Right.
First one was the Treasury, and the other one was commercial banks, or regular banks.
Right. Well, but the actually your commercial banks, right? Let's just say your major, like Ford National Association banks or your credit unions, they're FDIC insured, or NCUA insured if it's credit union, and they get their funding and their insurance through the Federal Reserve and the Treasury. So they can be a subsidiary or a broker, a middleman in regards to that same relationship that we'll have with the Treasury, since most people don't know that the Treasury is a bank. So though they can still operate in that same capacity like the Treasury can in regards to special deposit or trust accounts. Now, a couple other things. Go ahead.
Yeah, but that's insurance.
Right. Yeah, it's insured. Yeah, you came a little later, and I kind of showed about the insurance policy in regards to. I went back, but yeah, I actually showed that in regards to these insurance policies being done under these certain aspects of doing things. But let's move forward. Hey, ain't nothing.
Yeah, we both got to understand.
Yeah. So
it's called my father.
Now this special, I want people to really get the special deposit thing, right? You know, safe deposit just like having a safe deposit box. You can actually put your money in the bank and tell them you don't want those things commingled. So when you don't want those things commingled, you can actually set up your own safe deposit box, and that's kind of like special deposit. Now the other thing is they're not able to utilize those funds in their normal course of business, and none of the things that we actually that I will pull up and that I have pulled up mention the Treasury by name. But it's good that you know, though, Superman, that Treasury is a bank. Now, in reading this, right, special deposit. Now, this is what I consider a good representation example, right? An instrument of monetary policy involving the placement of a specified proportion of the banking sector's liquid assets with the central bank as a means of controlling the money supply. Special deposits are excluded from the bank's liquidity or reserve asset ratio. So if you set up, so special deposit, right? An instrument of monetary policy involving the placement of a specified proportion of the banking sector's liquid assets with the central bank as a means of controlling the money supply. Special deposits are excluded from the bank's liquidity or reserve asset ratio. Thus, if the monetary authorities wish to reduce the money supply, they can call for a special deposit. This will lower the liquidity base of the banking sector. As a result, banks will be forced to reduce their lending, leading to a multiple contraction of bank deposits and hence a fall in the money supply. Now that's a large scale. Any comments before I move on? Any comment on that? Truth Zone, what's happening, bro?
What's happening with you?
What's going on with you, man?
Chilling. Figured I pop in for a little bit. What you
All
on
right.
over here, man?
That's what's up.
All right. So,
Mr. Roster, man, nigga, where you been at, nigga? You been hiding. You been ducking me, nigga.
who this?
Truth Zone, nigga.
True Zone, what's going on, homie?
Man, when you gonna come back and holler at me, nigga? It's all love. Nigga. Don't let them niggas run you off, man.
Ain't nobody running me. I just get tired of the headaches and then push back where they ain't talking
Well, nigga,
unsensible.
it's time for you to come back, nigga. It's been long enough.
I'm gonna slide back through. Probably later on tonight.
All right, cool. It's time, nigga. It's about that time, nigga. Don't say you gonna come tonight. Don't show up, cause I'll hunt you down, nigga. You better believe it.
You go. Troll me.
Nah, I ain't gonna troll you, man. Nigga, man, your presence is needed on the channel, man. Yeah,
I'll be
I'm
over there,
waiting
big
for you,
bro.
my nigga Naughty, man. You don't let them niggas run you off, man.
No,
All right,
no,
I got
no. It was just been relaxing. No one running me.
yeah, for sure. What you got on the screen here, man? What's this about?
We talking about some major banking and understanding the process of how the government and how the system works internationally and how we can operate in that as well.
Right. I'm gonna mute up. I'm gonna let you go through it, man.
All right.
All right, let me hold on, Ethan. For you said you wanted a question and get in.
Yeah.
So you ever notice that the special deposits are tied in with the infinite banking?
Right. Yeah.
Which the infinite banking is gonna be the BOLI, BOLI. That was the term I was looking for. The bank, what is it called bank owned life insurance. What they put on all of their employees. So as you're opening up a deposit or a transaction or an account with the bank, you're becoming a creditor. You're seen as an employee or as an investor, part of the bank. So the bank goes and open up an insurance policy on you in a secret account. And that's what I was trying to get you to understand. So now they're working the firm on two sides. And that secret account is like a whole life insurance on the account, and it never leaves that bank. So even if your account shut down today, 30 years from now, that bank is still accessing that account by your authority and never took them from the power of attorney of that secret policy they done created.
Okay.
So the things sometimes when we fighting or looking to fight in some of these situations, they got back doors that we don't even see, that we're not even really tuned to give them or to exempt them from any type of legal action. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And this is one of them. But go ahead. You're doing good. Go ahead, though.
All right. So now I want to bring it over to a case. Right. Now, this is an affidavit of this guy, Walker F. Todd. Right. He's an expert witness. He did a full audit on a mortgage. And the only reason why I'm up here talking about mortgages is because most people had that issue, right, Truzo? So the main things that we deal with, I'm trying to show people that a lot of these things that we have going on are commercial ventures. Okay. So right here, I'm going to read some of this, right? So we're going to go with his background right now, and we're going to go off with what we have in background of this situation, right? So this is his affidavit. He said, under penalty of perjury, number one, that I am familiar with the promissory note and disbursement request and authorization dated November 23, 1999, together sometimes referred to in other documents filed by defendants in this case as the alleged agreement. Between defendants and plaintiff, but called the note in this affidavit. If called as a witness, I would testify as stated herein. I make this affidavit based on my own personal knowledge of the legal, economic, and historical principles stated herein, except that I have relied entirely on documents provided to me, including the note, regarding certain facts at issue in this case of which I previously had no direct and personal knowledge. I am making this affidavit based on my experience, expertise as an attorney, economist, research writer, and teacher. I am confident to make the following statements. My qualifications: for 20 years, I worked as an attorney and legal officer for the legal departments of the Federal Reserve Banks of New York and Cleveland. All right, just giving this background. Right here, I became one of the Federal Reserve System's recognized experts on the legal history of central banking and the pledging of notes, bonds, and other financial instruments at the discount window to enable the Federal Reserve to make advances of credit that became or could become money. You with me, Natty? All right. Also, I have read extensively treatises on the legal and financial history of money and banking, and have published several articles covering all the subjects just mentioned. I have served as an expert witness in several trials involving banking practices and monetary instruments. A summary, biographical sketch and resume, including further details of my work, experience, readings, publications, and education, will be tendered to defendants and may be made available to the court and the plaintiff's counsel upon request. Now, you see they're using this word tendered. Okay? Now, 3, banks are required to adhere to generally accepted accounting principles. GAAP follows an accounting convention that lies at the heart of double entry bookkeeping system called the matching principle. Now, we talked about that a little bit yesterday. This principle works as follows. When a bank accepts bullion, coin, currency, checks, drafts, promissory notes, Title 18, subsection 8, or any other similar instruments from customers and deposits on records or records the instruments as assets, right? Your county recorder's office. It must record offsetting liabilities that match the assets that it accepted from the customers. The liabilities represent the amounts that the bank owes the customers, funds accepted from customers. In a fractional reserve banking system like the United States banking system, most of the funds advanced to borrowers, assets of the banks, in quote, in brackets, are created by the banks themselves and are not merely transferred from one set of depositors to another set of borrowers. Now, let me say that again. In a fractional reserve banking system like the United States banking system, most of the funds advanced to borrowers are created by the banks themselves and are not merely transferred from one set of depositors to another set of borrowers. Now, relevance of subtle distinctions about types of money. From my study of historical economic writings on the subject, I conclude that a common misconception about the nature of money, unfortunately, has been perpetuated in the U.S. monetary and banking systems, especially since the 1930s. In classical economic theory, one economic exchange has moved beyond the barter stage. There are two types of money: money of exchange and money of account. For nearly 300 years in both Europe and the United States, confusion about the distinctiveness of these two concepts has led to persistent attempts to treat money of account as the equivalent of money of exchange. In reality, especially in a fractional, in reality, especially in a fractional reserve banking system, a comparatively small amount of money of exchange, for example, gold, silver, and official currency notes, may support a vastly larger quantity of business transactions dominated in money of account. The sum of these transactions is the sum of credit extensions in the economy, with the exception of customary stores of value like gold and silver. The monetary base of the economy largely consists of credit instruments. Against this background, I conclude that the note, despite some language about lawful money explained below, clearly contemplates both disbursement of funds and the eventual repayment or settlement, and any money of account, that is, money of exchange, would be welcome, but is not required to repay or settle the note. Now, we're gonna stop right there on that one, because like I said, I'm on that time bar. So talk to me. What you got?
Yeah, I can't fight you there. I can't fight you there.
It's gonna get better. I got you. It's gonna get better. I'm telling you, I got things. We're gonna slide them on in there. We're gonna slide that oil. You know what I mean? We're gonna slide
It is
the oil.
it is good
You know
that
what
you
I mean?
come with this information though, Kyle. It's quite helpful to get someone in the corrective status of operation. You know what I'm saying? So they have something to look forward to, not just saying, what's getting your corrective setting? What is that? What is it good for? It's good that you're giving all of these steps to show that, yo, when you set up the deal directly with the Federal Reserve and you got account and this account set up and that account set up where it's traversing, You can operate using this means yeah, it's good, Aton. You're doing good. Doing real good.
Nonetheless, what's going on, brother? You late?
Yo, what's up, bro? Y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yo, what you reading that from? Modern Money Mechanics?
No. I ain't got that up yet. I ain't got that up.
No.
No, this is actually a case. Hold on, let me show you.
All right. Well, look.
It's actually a case. See that? It's a case.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one right there. That's
Go back up.
That's actually
I don't know. It's in a jurisdiction or circuit.
Well, that's why I don't like. But that was one of my arguments that I had with people that talk about this crypto money, right? Now, my whole thing, my problem with crypto money is that that's money of account. Where's the money of exchange? You see the problem that it has philosophy wise. What are you exchanging? This is account to account. So how can that be money when money of account and money of exchange works simultaneously? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's my thing. And philosophy wise, it doesn't make sense to me because you're not exchanging anything but numbers on a ledger.
Well, that's the thing, nonetheless, and that's why I always preach, if I can use that word, special deposit.
Okay.
You do everything. You do the things by special deposit, then you create that trust relationship, and they are governed under that. Then you got 12 USC 411 with that 412. You got the 31 USC 5118, 5119. Now, those things can all be redeemed in that constitutional money, and if they don't do, then you know that there's no constitution around. My thing is to pat them bushes and bring them on out and say, hey, we operating like this.
Well, you heard what the woman said from jump, that it's a de facto system.
Yeah.
When you're looking at this de facto system and you're trying to acquire some type of remedy in a de facto matter, is not legitimate. You're not going to be able to use this standing to go against the de facto way of money marketing. It can't happen. So in this case, like this case, it's going to stipulate, something in a more personal jurisdiction like the circuit, but it ain't in like the district or the court of appeals or anything of that nature, where it's going to be a statute case study built behind a constitutional law. This is going to be just something, just two swords going in there fighting and see who come out good type shit. It really don't have any basis.
Right.
Because you got to remember again, they go ahead. It's gonna come back to me. It just fucking slipped me. It'll come back. Go ahead.
No, but real quick, Aton, you see what I put in the back chat real quick?
You want to pull it up?
Yeah, pull that up real quick. I'm gonna show the people.
Go ahead.
Because I want to show the people something. Because the way I research
it says it's not. It says it's not available.
It's really not.
Yeah, hold on.
Let me see. Say it's not available.
Let me copy and paste it.
Yeah, copy and paste it. See if it come up there. I want to show the people something. This is how I'm gonna show you, bro, because you gotta have a way to.
You know what happened?
What happened?
They cut it off. It's not all. It's not the whole link. That's the issue.
It's not the whole.
Hold on. Let me do a search on that. Smart Capital Mind. What are the different types of non-what? What are the different types of non-what?
Oh, wait a minute. It ain't come all the way. Let me see.
Yeah, the
No.
whole link. If you did it from a phone, it ain't gonna bring. It ain't gonna. If the link is long, it's not gonna give it to you.
Oh, okay.
So what is
All
the
right.
different type of what? Let me type
Go
it
to
up.
go to Capital Mind, right? Go to that website and go. What's the difference between non-interest bearing accounts? What are the different types of non-interest bearing accounts? Go to that real quick.
Okay.
But go to Smart Capital Mind website because they give you a pretty good breakdown. Now, stuff like this, bro, is it when you research like what's going on, especially in banking or anything, law, history or whatever, is a technique that you use, right? Because I think a lot of people they research, but they listen to people, but they don't do it themselves because they get frustrated. But once you learn your own system and you learn how to get the answers yourself, you're gonna see it's real easy.
Your social is actually the one that's giving it the energy. And once it's giving it the energy, the only thing you can do to me that makes it simple is be the one that's accountable, right? You just capture both sides. You know, that's the gap principle. You capture the debit side and the credit side to get it to zero, right? Because the one thing Elise said, that's your accounting. Those A's and B's is your accounting. And then once you do the INT or OID or both,
No,
that's
no,
where you get your recoupment. See what I'm saying?
no. The one you just mentioned, I knew there was I heard their name. So what they're actually recognized by the SEC as grantors trust holders. I knew that damn name. They're the holders of all grantors trust, basically, for the SEC. But go ahead. That's the that's that with it again.
Yeah. Now that's what I'm saying through the trust law and everything, like and getting it done. To me, I'm like, wait a minute. If all these things are done and I'm working hard for all this stuff, and a lot of things have been taken. A lot of things have been taken. There's efforts on both sides to try to make sure both sides of my brain to try to make sure that everything is taken care of. I'm taken care of, or people taken care of, and I can keep a sane brain. Well, I think at the end of the day, since I put that sweat into it, it's up to me to make sure that I correct everything, so that way my obligations don't become my children's obligations or even else, because they'll find somebody to call in regards to this debt. I'm pretty sure everybody got a call talking about, is your sister's name or is your brother's name or is your son, your daughter's? I mean, somebody, or do you know this person? Or how you get my number? Oh, well, we just checked and they, So, I mean, it's a easy way to get it done. To me, it's an easy way to get it done to account for it, and then under the circumstances, then it could be moved around. But outside of that, my brothers, we gonna call it a day. Look, I'm on 4. Okay, I'm on 420. I'm on 420 right now, my man. Perfect timing. All right, so look, Nadi. I hear if Taz in the back, Taz, I'm gonna holler
Bless,
at
brother.
y'all,
Bless.
man.
My bad, man. Go ahead. I'm listening, though.
Man, you make me nervous, man. I ain't never heard you this quiet.
I put that muzzle on his mouth.
No, you don't. He playing games with me right now. You think I'm stupid?
What happened?
What happened? Go ahead, bro. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, we good, man. I'm gonna call it a day.
Okay, bless, man. Yeah, we've been watching, listening.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it a day, and then appreciate y'all coming up. Today, tomorrow, Thursday? Yeah, we got one more day at it, and then we'll deal with it.
Tomorrow Thursday.
Yeah, tomorrow, Thursday. Yeah,
Oh,
so
damn. I told you.
Thursday
that's
like
All right. I put you out to you. So, yeah, we got you.
all right, no
tomorrow
doubt.
day.
All right, y'all, in a minute.
Bro,
Yeah.
you crazy as hell, though.
All right, y'all. Well, we're going to close out with these last ones. We're on the 420. 1 hour. One of these days, I'm going to keep it under 4 hours. But you know how it goes. That's why my presentations got be a little bit more sharper. What I'll probably do is I'll cut back on the social stream thing and we'll get right to it. But I want people to get comfortable. I want to get right into the information. But what I would do is try to figure out how we can kind of short it up a little bit. All right, J-Dub, I'm going to holler at you. Yep, we'll talk, bro. Everybody else here that is here, that was here, all right, appreciate y'all coming in here. Y'all want to hang out while the music play? Then hang out while the music play. But if you don't, peace to you. We get to it. Hopefully this was very informative. Play it back a few times. You're really trying to get it, play it back a few times. I'm really going to simplify this for you. I'm going to simplify your life for you. Keep it common sense.
No moving. No moving. No moving. Yeah. No moving. No moving. No moving.
I'm the coach, quotes coded in oak with a ghost loaded focus. Chrome in the coat, king with the cloak, smoking that hocus pocus. Infinite styles, pivot and pile up the mileage. I'm wild with the science. You see the line on my avatar, iron jaw pride. I to devour the silence. Why you niggas steady lying? Got me laughing hard, satire and fraud. I fire the squad. Wise get crossed when I'm sparring with all the guards. Author of art, carving a mark in the bark of the market at large. Target the sharks, heart of a Spartan. I sharpen the margin with bars. You rather bargain and dodge. I'd rather you come get your taxes done. Black suit, back room, facts in a stack. I'm relaxing the maximum. Get out of the pocket, the profit of rocket. Then I just might tax you punks. Bracket your funds, I'm stacking in chunks. Reacting to acid, you're begging a punch. Sometimes my community hard-headed, scarred, dreading the lessons. I chart head and start spreading the message embedded in pressure. Sovereign living, I'm private with it. No corporate percentage. Discharging debt with a pen stroke. You still don't notice the vision. I've been telling y'all you don't want to debate me. Weighty and ready. Great with machetes, linguistically shredding the petty. Grab these 15 acres. Landscape major, plan made paper. Land patent stamped and sacred since my campaign greater. I ain't talking about Ice-T when I say that I can show you law and order. Court recorder, I sort the torture, contort the border. I eat the case, beat the state, leave a trace of the raw supporter. Briefcase aura, got your baby mama thinking that I'm a lawyer. Seminole Indian sentiment, militant on sovereign soil. Private enrollment, tribal component. I'm the boss if you're trying to employ it.
Clutch, baby. Infinite. Stop.
Yeah, I can get your land packed. Yeah, I can discharge your debt. You gotta live by 5 principles before we just connect. Cause you could pose as my friend and then really be the threat. Like Brutus the Julius to the dudes that killed Malcolm X.
Get your hand out of my pocket! Get your hand out of my pocket, nigga! Get your hands out of my pocket! Get your hand out! Brother, please.
Y'all think getting remedies important. We make your lawyers lose their indemnity insurance. King Chameleon, private, I don't wanna be popular. grandpapa, hunk papa, mama black mafia. Yeah, we them big owners holding rank. You call Rocket Lawyer, I call the owner of the bank. He in the private at the temple, like Ginobili in the paint. And we got 3 militaries, we might be rolling in some tanks. While you balancing with a check gross, going to work for debt notes. Overtime all your life paying mortgages, then you left broke. Damn. Shout out to Mayweather, who's obviously woke. He settled $18 million with a promissory note. I'm not your corporation's chattel, this world gotta be a joke. Blind leading the blind, so we never gonna see.
But I tell you what, I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed.
Everybody fake woke while the president is asleep. So I introvert myself, cause it's evident to me. No one saves us but us. Buddha said it in BC. No title deeds, it just reference the evidence to me. Man, you don't own it, you a tenant and it says it on your deed. You said with a sign, but didn't take the time to even read. It's gotta be an idiocracy. They call you crazy as Kanye, just for thinking logically. 2 million nationals backing us to stop who ain't stopping me. For instance, when Columbus came over here, they admitted Native Americans was already there. But if our kids take a test on who discovered land we on, and you say Native Americans, you get the question wrong. What? Don't lie to us, you are just a colonist. Can't hide the truth, we got all the proof from the anthropologists. We know the system now, it's time to get up out of it. But it's our fault, cause we fought so hard to be a part of it.
Now, I will never say that progress is being made. If you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6 inches, there's no progress. You pull it all the way out, that's not progress. The progress is healing the wound that's the blow made. And they haven't even begun to pull a knife out, much less try and heal the wound. They won't even admit the knife is there.
All people trying to burn us, out selling services with disclaimers, saying that it ain't for legal purposes. No cash, broke ass, internet burglars with temporary schemes and a lot of fraudulent dreams. Yeah, we got our own embassy, we got our own consulate, foreign administrations, and 3 armies on top of it. We live by 5 principles, but we'll die for this. Freedom back to the people, protect them from the apocalypse. I took that title that they gave me and I clouded it. That's what you say, that's the Cuban. I got a bond with this. My way of thinking pissed the military off. I ain't with their way of thinking, Roman military law. We coming peaceful outside the mosque and the cathedral, and we'll resort to violence. I gotta protect my people. They call us ghetto, they call us thugs. The only God they worship, guns, oil, and drugs. I'm on the block, Martin Luther King was shot, holding a gun that killed Kennedy, trying to find a remedy. You can't cancel me nor censor me, with chancery and sensory, God-like energy to infinity. My actions are my testament. I got a lot of questioning. How Ben Frank was on 100 but was never president. You broke, you go to jail. You got money, you get right out. They lock you up for drugs, but they got coke in the White House.